Niongee na ukali kwa sababu niko kanisani. Niseme nyinyi tuko na nyinyi.
The deputy president, who spoke during a Sunday service at St. Francis Xavier Church, said the renewed strategy to deal with banditry will involve the political leadership in the affected areas so that normalcy can be restored.
Mlikuwa mumeanza vizuri sana. Bunduki mlikuwa mumeanza kurudisha. Lakini mnaonekana mmesahau. Hizo bunduki mrudishe.
Gachagua, however, warned that the government will hold national government administration officers personally liable if illegal arms believed to be fueling banditry are found in their area of jurisdiction.
Mambo ni mawili. Chief akae kwake ama mlio ya risasi ikae. Na kwa sababu mlio ya risasi haina akili ya kuamua, mwenye kuamua ni nani? Chief.
And to some sad news now, where the former member of parliament, that is Lawrence Sifuna, has passed on. Now, Sifuna, who was elected member of parliament for Bungoma South, presently Kandui in 1979, died last night at a hospital in Eldoret after a short illness. And that is Saturday night and not last night.
In the air, one of their kin killed in the most brutal of ways. To probably make profits, Peter Mutuko and his friend Martin Shege engaged in a deadly venture, stealing pineapples at the Del Monte farm. And as fate would have it, both were caught by the farm guards in charge. Shege narrates how Mutuko
Let's take that story for you once again, where the former member of parliament, that is Lawrence Sifuna, died on Saturday night. Lawrence Sifuna was elected the member of parliament for Bungoma South, that is presently Kandui, in 1979, and he died after a short illness. Let's get the details of that story once again.
According to Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who is a nephew to the late former MP for Bungoma South, Lawrence Sifuna, the deceased was taken ill a few days ago after suffering a stroke and got admitted at a local hospital in Bungoma before being transferred to another facility in Eldoret, where he succumbed.
So a decision was made, I think the day before yesterday, to transfer him to Eldoret. We thought that maybe he would receive better care there. And unfortunately, he got to Eldoret, and yesterday at around 9:30, we received the news that he had passed on.
The Nairobi senator says funeral arrangements for the fallen politician have begun and the burial date will be announced in due course. The body of the late Sifuna has been transferred to Life Care Hospital mortuary in Bungoma.
I just want to thank everybody who has sent messages of condolence. We've received messages of condolence from all the leaders in the country, outside the country, and we just want to say thank you for your support during this difficult period.
The late former MP will be remembered for his articulation of issues both on the floor of Parliament and in public fora.
Of course, we do apologize for the mix-up in that story. We move on, where the Defense Cabinet Secretary, Aden Duale, has assured Kenyans that the Kenya Defense Forces is on high alert for any activity the Al-Shabaab militant group might try to initiate, taking advantage of the chaos brought about by the El Nino rains, which have resulted in floods in some parts of the country. Now, this comes as a Form 3 student that is in Tana River County was washed away by floods on Friday evening.
Speaking in Garissa County during the inspection of ongoing repair of broken roads, Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale said the military is engaged and switching to prevent any security incidences that may be posed by militants.
The Interior Ministry with the National Government Coordination units on the ground and the police and all other arms of security agents are on high alert to make sure that we secure, we save, we protect civilian lives, we secure properties.
Elsewhere, a family in Wema village of Tana Delta sub-county, Tana River County, is mourning the death of their Form 3 son who was swept away by raging floods on Friday evening.
Huzuni kwamba tumepoteza kijana ambaye pengine angekuwa kiongozi katika nchi hii kutokana na mafuriko. Na haya ndio tulikuwa tunajaribu sana kuyakimbia yasitupate. Lakini Mungu ana sababu zake.
Tayari mtoto tushakosa, mtoto wetu amekufa, hatujui tufanye nini.
The 17-year-old boy, a student at Mombasa Secondary School, was home for the December holidays when the tragedy occurred in Tana Delta, which is one of the worst hit by the flood disaster.
Wakaenda wakafika ile bandi ile dike ya maji ya Tradra. Sasa wale wenzio waliruka ngambo ya pili, yule Yonda alipita. Na yeye aliporuka hakupata kuvuka ngambo ya ile dike, akaanguka chini, akaanguka kwa maji.
Families that have been displaced by floods in the Ngarimara area of Isiolo and who have pitched camp at the Ngarimara Boys Secondary School have received relief food, mosquito nets and 37 million shillings courtesy of the national government.
Serikali kuu inawashughulikia na iko tayari kuungana na nyinyi ili kuhakikisha ya kwamba mfumo wa El Nino atuendelei kupoteza maisha, atuendelei kupoteza maisha ya watu na mifugo.
Meanwhile, the weatherman says rainfall and thunderstorms are expected over a few parts of the country, with strong easterly winds of more than 25 knots expected in Turkana County.
Kasichana Masha reporting there. Now let's look at news making headlines in the counties where the Principal Secretary for State Department for Cabinet Affairs, that is Idris Dakota, has disclosed that the country's productivity is way below the threshold, hence the need for substantial changes and strategic interventions in a bid to elevate the productivity landscape in the country. Let's get more in our continuous roundup.
Speaking at the close of a productivity mainstreaming training for the Coast region at the Kenya Coast National Polytechnic in Mombasa, Dakota says government is keen on improving data collection and analysis with the aim of developing a robust labor productivity index.
We are expecting the MDAs to develop what we call productivity metrics. And these metrics are anchored on three important elements of productivity, which are quality in terms of customer satisfaction, that is the quality of service we provide. The other one is costs, the operation costs we have mentioned, and lastly, delivery.
Meanwhile, the National Council of Churches of Kenya Upper Eastern Region has called on the government to lower the cost of living and revisit its taxation policies.
The Regional Committee has noted that the people of Kenya are deeply suffering from spiraling cost of living. The prices of consumer goods and services have skyrocketed, while taxation is more than most citizens can bear.
Elsewhere, police in Malaba, Kakamega County are investigating circumstances surrounding the death of a 24-year-old boda-boda operator who was brutally stoned to death by a group of attackers.
Kulingana na kitendo yenye wamefanya leo, sio kitendo mzuri. Hao ndio wezi, wameua hiyo jamaa na tena wamemuibia. Wamechukua hata pesa yake kwa mfuko, kitambulisho wametupa pale, wallet yake iko pale chini. Ilimaanisha alikuwa na kitu na wamechukua, wamempiga sacha na wakamuua.
In Eastleigh, over 22 families have been left homeless after hired goons attacked their houses in the wee hours of the night and threw them out, removed doors and demolished the building that has housed the families for more than 2 decades.
Serikali tuangalie sana. Wale watu tumekaa huko tumenyanyaswa. Unakuwa unalala usiku, mtu anakuja na bomoa nyumba. Instead ya kuja kupeana notice, mtu anajifanya akona nguvu sana kuliko kila kitu.
And students who have found it hard to advance studies owing to responsibilities have been advised to enroll for online courses as an effective way to upgrade their level of education.
The Open University, as you all know, that we have been talking about, is a chartered public university that admits students based on a flexible admission criteria.
Finally, the daughter of the late Ma, politician William Ole Ntimama, has launched a book she hopes will aid modern-day parents to raise their children.
The reason for this is because what we used to have before was authoritarian parenting, where the parents just sit on you. Today, we have to talk to the children. If anybody wants to succeed, you need to have a hybrid parenting.
Parenting Roadmatics by Lydia Naneu urges modern-day parents to embrace talking to their children instead of resorting to corporal punishments.
And from the counties, we head to sports, where the Valencia Marathon, that is 2023 Prague International Marathon champion, that is Alexander Motiso, finished second in this year's edition of the Valencia Marathon. The race was won by 2021 London Marathon champion, that is Issei Lema, while compatriot Woknesh Degefa came in, won the women's title.
Lema took charge of the race from the onset, controlling the leading pack that comprised of compatriots Dawit Wolde, Kenenisa Bekele, and Kenyans Alexander Motiso. In the 40-kilometer mark, Lema widened the gap to finish the race fast in a time of 2 hours, 1 minute and 48 seconds, with Motiso and Dawit Wolde completing the podium dash. Kibiwot Kandia settled sixth in a time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 48 seconds.
Ethiopian national record, but the Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso champion for 2023 is Issei Lema. What a run! What a run and a new course record.
In the women's race, Kenya's Celestine Chepchirchir took a time of 2 hours, 20 minutes and 46 seconds to finish fourth behind Ethiopia's trio of Woknesh Degefa, Almaz Ayana and Iwot Gebrede Kidan, who took the first 3 positions respectively.
Has run to perfection here, a new lifetime best, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Let's move on, where the 2023 Talanta Hela Under-19 Inter-County Football Tournament Grand National Finals kicked off yesterday at the Nyayo National Stadium. Vihiga County men's team outshined Homa Bay men's team 5-2 as Busia County ladies thrashed Kakamega ladies 4-0.
Vincent Odongo scored the opener for Vihiga in the 15th minute before Austin Odongo added a second goal 2 minutes later. Nelson Ombeva scored the third in the dying minutes of the first half. Homa Bay came back strong in the second half, with Cecil Miller responding in the 58th minute. Benson Ogutu added another in the 72nd minute. Ostik Odongo scored the fourth before Derek Okech sealed the victory in the stoppage time. In another match, Busia County ladies team bagged maximum points in the opening match after a 4-0 win over Kakamega County ladies. Diana Nyango scored a brace, with Faith Lona and Sharon Vida netting the second and third goals. The tournament will end on the 12th of this month during the Jamhuri Day celebration, with the winners walking away with 5 million shillings. Don't miss the action live on KBC Channel 1 in Y254.
To boxing now, where Team Kenya Police maintained the lead in the Boxing Federation of Kenya National League after winning the fourth leg of the league held at the Nyanyuki Social Hall that is in Laikipia County. The winners of the league will be decided in the final leg slated for the 14th through to the 16th of December in Kisumu County.
Team Kenya Police finished first in the fourth leg with 33 points, ahead of Kenya Defence Forces, who came in second, as Team Nairobi County completed the podium positions on 10 points. In In the overall standings, Kenya Police leads with 120 points, ahead of KDF, who are second on 98 points, while Nairobi County and Kenya Prisons are engaged in a close battle for third place in the league with 30 and 27 points respectively.
Mchezo umekuwa migumu, kila mtu alikuwa amejiandaa vilivyo, na nashukuru Mungu nimeweza kuwa na walimu ambao walikuwa pembezoni mwa jukwaa kuweza kunipa mawaidha na maongozo mazuri ya kuweza kuhimili hizo fight.
Zoezi yenye napiga yote ni kufocus ya next year, na nashukuru sana, so my focus is for next year na believe everything is possible. Hakuna kitu kiwezekani.
Nimekuwa nikinyang'ana sana kwa sababu nataka nichukue hiyo weight ya flyweight, kwa sababu kwa wakati sahi kuna Olympic qualifier 2 zimebaki, na na matumaini kuwa nitaweza kuwakilisha nchi yetu pia na niweze kuelekea Paris next year. Bado niko na matumaini na najua inawezekana.
The winners of the league will be decided in the final leg, slated for 14th to 16th of December in Kisumu County.
Dan Mwendo reporting there. Now let's go to some football, where Benson Omala's stoppage time goal assured FKF Premier League defending champions, that is Gor Mahia, a 2-1 win over Kariobangi Sharks. Gor took charge of the game from the early minutes with several attempts, but pulled a goal in the additional minutes of the first half, scoring a 1-0 halftime lead. In the second half, Sharks looked to have rectified their mistakes, pulling an equalizer in the 81st minute, but Benson Omala's stoppage time goal assured Kogalo all 3 points, which saw them move top of the Premier League table on 27 points. In other matches, the Kakamega Homeboys registered a 1-0 win over Bidco United. Sofapaka beat Nzoia Sugar 3-1, as Police FC registered a 2-0 victory over Maranga.
Anatumia outfoot, anaituliza vizuri Guy Panto! Geuka Patrikado kwa Lawrence Juma sasa. Lawrence Juma Ochieng! Lawrence Juma Ochieng Lawo!
To some golf now, where Kitale Golf Club Phillips Shihasi emerged as the overall winner of the NCBA Golf Series Grand Finale at the Sigona Golf Club. Now playing off a handicap 5, Shihasi managed a score of 75 gross to secure victory amid intense competition from 108 skilled golfers. Uganda's Peter Tumisime won the men's category with a score of 76 gross. He beat Kakamega Sports Club Cedric Conzolo, who claimed the second position with a score of 77 points. In the ladies category, Luisa Gitao claimed victory with a score of 84 gross. The top 3 winners of the series grand finale each took home a prize of 100,000 shillings. Well, that brings us to the end of the bulletin this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. As usual, we have still a lot lined up for you. Politics is on the card, definitely transformative leadership, and obviously Vivian also is back in just a short moment. So thank you once again. My name is Marie Yambo, and hope to see you again on Thursday.
The stage is set for a showcase of young talents as Kenya hosts the Sekafa Under-18 Championship from the 25th of November to 8th of December in Kisumu and Kakamega. Kenya, Sudan, Rwanda, Somalia, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Uganda are battling for the title in the 2-week tournament. The group phase matches are scheduled 25th of November to 1st of December. Then the semi-finals will be played on 5th of December and the final on 8th of December, all in Kisumu. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Itakuaje? Oya.
Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Ameke rough denel mshetani over.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiongea kitu kiambia diriki sana. Rosi pole.
Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Hizi zote zimebaki December, September, October. Wanaona, ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
It's a cocktail of emotions. The puns that cracks up the family. Greed that yields power and a hunger for success. Friends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
All right, welcome back. It's now 4 minutes actually past 7 a.m. Welcome to the program. The background is a complete everything we are going to talk about today, from our local newspapers as well as the traffic, and then we get into our political segment, Eye on Politics. Being Monday, the 4th day of December 2023, my guests are getting ready to get into the discussion very shortly. It's a good morning. For the last few days, we've not experienced rain in the city, or some drizzles here and there, but not that much. So I believe things are going to be here. I have got Deputy Governor of Mandera County joining me in studio shortly, David Alulu, political analyst and governance expert, as well as Naftali Nyabigo, who is a certified professional mediator, also in studio. I'll be getting to that discussion very shortly, but how we do it every day, we do our traffic check, starting with the capital city. Good morning from whichever part of the country joining me from today. Let me start with the western side of the town, starting all the way from Westlands, coming from ABC Place all the way to Dhiru, down to Westlands and about past Museum Hill, all moving okay. So if you are using that road, I think so far so good. It looks pretty fine at this particular time of the morning. Come to work. The problem started around, this must be around, this is the CBD. This is CBD. A bit of some traffic along Moi Avenue here. It's given. It's given now that everybody is coming there. So the CBD will definitely look not so good at this time of the morning, but that is okay. How about the Thika Superhighway? Thika Superhighway not looking good. This is the situation. Starting from around Survey, coming down to the Pangani there, and actually heading towards Muthaiga, not looking pretty fine. Not looking pretty fine. That is the situation along Thika Road. But the rest of the highway is so far so good. That is the entire Kiambu Road past Karura Forest heading to Kiambu Town, looking pretty okay. All right. So again, part of Thika Highway, Thika Superhighway, also looking fine. How about Outer Ring Road, looking fine. That is what it looks like at this particular time of the morning. But the problem is around Embakasi. This turn, as you come from North Airport, those sides of Embakasi, as you come using that turn, that's where the traffic is actually as you come from Outer Ring, joining Embakasi. That's a bit slow here. So if you have enough fuel, good for you. If you don't, again, this is the point you start singing some not so good songs in the morning, but so far so good. If you're using Mombasa Road all the way from at the river down to Mlolongo, coming to the CBD, looking pretty fine. Langata Road, Watwa LA, good morning. So far so good. It looks good. So I can give it a clean bill of health. Out of 100%, I can give the CBD or the capital city 98% fine. That is my assessment. All right, pretty fast. Let me go to Mombasa. Good morning, watu wa Pwani. The season is here. Please, be good to us. Be good to us. Birthday girl Njoki will be in Mombasa very soon. So, Nyali Road down to Kongowea Market, all moving fine until you get to around Kengeleni or Lights, if you like. But today, it's looking so far so good. Past New Nyali Bridge, okay, iko sawa. As you get to the CBD, watu Mombasa, today you've behaved. I need to find out why. Come to, again, the Likoni Ferry. That is where the problem is usually at, but today is looking pretty okay. And then that is it. So it looks not so bad today. So that is what it looks like. Let's head towards the other side of Makupa, all the way from Mikindani, coming to Jambo Village, into Makupa, Causeway. Again, kila kitu iko sawa. That is Mombasa. Let's head over to Kisumu City. That is Kisumu County. So far so good. It looks okay all the way past the airport, coming into out and inbound, looking pretty fine. This is what it looks like. Again, that is Kakamega Road, coming to Kondela roundabout, pretty fine so far at this particular time of the morning. It's still early, we can say it's around a few minutes past 7 a.m. So again, that's what it looks like. From that side of Kisumu, getting out towards Ahero, also looking okay. All right, Deputy Governor, we are in Mandera today. There's no traffic in Mandera. This is what it looks like. Yeah. This is what it looks like. Okay, I can give an example of Nairobi. That is Nairobi, okay? Looking okay. All green. And then we head over to Mandera County. Again, there's no traffic. Where is the problem? Why is there no traffic in Mandera?
Good question. We'll find out soon.
You need to tell us. You need to tell us. This is Mandera, and this other side by there is Ethiopia.
Yes.
So when you're just around this place, you breathe that fresh air from Ethiopia. How do you relate with our neighbors from the other side?
Are you sure it is fresh air?
I suppose.
It is those from Ethiopia breathing fresh air from Mandera,
Yes.
because I hear that they have plenty of waters right now.
It could be, or Ethiopians are breathing fresh air from Kenya.
Yes.
I need to find out that one. So, how is your relationship with our brothers from the other side of the border? Deputy Governor?
So far, so good. Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
Yes.
We are enjoying very cordial relationship.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Naftali, karibu sana, good to see you once again.
Good to see you.
Asante sana. Okay, as always, let me take you through the front page of our local daily list, starting with the Star newspaper. Star newspaper front page says Karua walkout looms as Raila team divided. Karua walkout looms as Raila team divided. Dissatisfied NAC Kenya party leader to make major announcement this week. So that's what's on the front page. But all is well, as Raila Kalonzo have endorsed report and dismissed division talks. That is what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Again, something to smile about. KDF begins withdrawal from DRC as Army Chief Ogola visits troops. Around 300 of them arrived in the country over the weekend. So I think that must be a very good point to say. Hongera to the KDF, and of course it was in conjunction with the troops at the ERCRF, that is joint forces from East Africa. Police officer arrested over assault of journalist. Very quickly, Mudavadi travels to Haiti for 3 days fact-finding mission. Of course, you know there is that bit of Kenya police officers set to be in Haiti, but now Musalia Mudavadi has traveled to Haiti as part of the fact-finding team before Kenya sends 1,000 police officers to the trouble-torn Caribbean nation. He left accompanied by Monica Juma, the National Security Advisor. The story here of a teen whipped, forced to, not so good story, forced to eat his vomit after going through a cut. A clinical officer has described his situation as not so good, but he is in stable condition. Azimio la Umoja Unity on the line over talks report. That is what we have here, fleshed out there for you on the front page. And now taking better part of page 4 and 5. Azimio la Umoja Party strength at the National Assembly. ODM has 89 MPs. Jubilee has 28 MPs. Wiper 26 MPs. KANU 6, and finally DAP Kenya 5 MPs. So that is the strength as per today. So Karua and Eugene Wamalo have not said anything. That's according to Raila Odinga, which part of the report they are not agreeing with, but what some of the better proposals they have put forward, but which were rejected by the report, and what exactly about the document is not acceptable. That is according to Raila Odinga. But let me start with you, David. Karua walkout looms as Raila team divided. Please take me through the front page.
This was expected. If you go down the history lens, you'll realize that every time the former Prime Minister goes for the truce with the government, his foot soldiers always split. The good example is the most recent of 2018, when he went for the handshake. And the likes of Akina Wetangula, Mudavadi, Kalonzo were left wondering. I remember at some point one saying they were told to hold a Nigerian line to wait for a call, which never came through, and they walked away. So anytime there is a sign of truce, there will be disagreement, because you see, every political leader has some sort of expectation. And if those expectations are not met, you know, politics is a game of interest. Every politician is interested to get something in the arrangement. And if there isn't anything for me, why should I stay? Should I just stay and clap for you? Everybody wants to look for their own opportunities. They want to find a way of maneuvering through, because in politics you must stay relevant. And relevance does not come by you sitting down and saying, now I have my leader, he has gotten the official opposition leader, so I can just sit here. You know, most of fellows in Azimio, especially our friends from Mount Kenya region, had a different expectation from what the NADCO report is proposing. And since the expectations are not being met, the best thing would be, let's forge our own path. They came up with something called Kamwene something. That is a sign to show you that with this Kamwene... That was a group
which was meant to accommodate people who are neither in Azimio nor Kenya Kwanza. Exactly.
But then you realize the making behind the Kamwene thing is some sort of a political outfit, a movement that would bring together now people who feel disgruntled from the both sides of the divide. And I can go to Kamwene because they say it's a neutral platform. I don't feel comfortable in Azimio, I'll go to Kamwene. And then once we feel disappointed completely, because most of the leaders in Kamwene movement are leaders in Azimio. Once we feel disgruntled, we just move, and then we shall make a declaration and say, now we feel disappointed, Azimio did not argue our case well, and we feel we have a good agenda for Mount Kenya, so this is the agenda. So looking at how Mother Karua has been behaving lately, it will tell you she moved a long time ago, she's just waiting for the party.
That's just maybe an assumption.
No, not assumption.
based on this headline.
In politics, never take anything as an assumption. Any sign in politics tells you something is going on. So you just need, you know, while growing up, we could see a rainbow and say it is not going to rain today. And when you see a heavy clouds, you say it is going to rain. So they say dalili ya mvua mawingu. So once you see that happening, you should know that in politics something is going to happen. And in this one, I can tell you, very soon we shall come here to discuss the working out of the Kamwene team.
You're a fortune teller. How is my 10 years in Ghana? DJ, what do you make of this headline? He's a fortune teller. Probably can tell us how our future looks like.
Well, you know, those who know Martha Karua,
right,
and of course the Azimio leader would certainly expect something like this. As he said, you know, the initial marriage was as a result of some specific interest when they formed the Azimio la Umoja. And as time goes, even including KK, as time goes, the interests of individual parties shifts apart progressively because what brought them together may have or may not have been achieved. And clearly in Azimio, there are certain groupings who are gaining, more popularity in terms of the kind of agenda they are pushing.
Yes.
There are those who are straight thinkers who really mean very well for Kenyans, especially when it comes to the standard of living. Like Mother Karua, we have known her. She's been in politics for many, many years. And a lot of Kenyans can actually predict her reaction and how she will take situations like this, especially on the national dialogue.
Is that walkout good for her?
Well, it's not about Mother Karua. I think for her, it's about Kenyans. That's my thinking, is that she really wants good for Kenyans, and it's not really about her. Quite a number of politicians, without naming names, we know that when certain interests between the nation and the individual interests come, most likely they would prefer that whatever interests they have will overshadow the national interest. And in this case, from the national dialogue, it's coming very quite clear that certain things that initially that they have been pushing for, in which Martha was really part and parcel of, is not being achieved. And that's why she seems to be pulling out of this program. Yes.
Naftali, we look at this headline, probably she was running with Raila Odinga in the last election, and now she's quote-unquote planning to walk out, as reported by the Star. But what that really portend to Azimio ahead of moving forward? Let's not even talk about 2027 because we still know their political formation ahead of that.
Yeah, from where I sit, Mother Karua is a Kenyan who sometimes is open and genuine. Sometimes Mother Karua is not hypocritical. She is characterized by a firm and a humanized belief in the validity of her opinions. So when you see her walking out, then it means she has a point. But now, more than that, it has come at time when the people of Kenya are expressing themselves in regard to our democracy.
Yes.
Because democracy is that the doctrine that the numerical majority of an organized group can make decisions binding for the whole group. And in these discussions, you see Mother Karua now having another element which we call meritocracy, whereby this is a social system in which power goes to those with the superior intellect. Mother Karua is a superior intellect. It is only that sometimes politics appear to sway her away. But from where she sits, Mother Karua can give orders and make decisions binding for the whole group. And this now for the Mount Kenya faction of the people of Kenya. So in regard to Azimio, they have to sit down and analyze this working out. What is the impact? Because in politics, you will not.
What is the impact of how
you cannot
out?
nullify
the
opinions and the wishes of the Honorable Mother Karua. You will not in Kenya.
This is what she said, and let me quote her, that the National Dialogue report, where is that? Okay, is troubling, problematic, and unacceptable.
Yeah. So, Mother Karua, when you look at Baba, I had indicated earlier that Baba always has two agreements. He has a private agreement and he has a public agreement. And he has been doing it for many years. So it is not a surprise that Baba had made a private agreement with the Honorable William Ruto, who is the president. The private agreement has been sealed. Now, Mother Karua has realized that the public agreement is now coming to be sealed in a way which she may not like it. Now she has to walk out. And she must do it in the best interest of the people. of the people of Kenya. Yeah.
I don't think
the
that...
DG is not amused by that statement.
I don't think that is necessarily true, because you cannot run away from an agreement that you are not aware of the content. And I don't think it is a very public thing that there's a specific, private agreement between the president and Raila. I think a lot of it is, in my opinion, a lot of it is just one of those political things that we have always asserted. But I think in reality is that knowing Martha Karua, she is a straight thinker.
Yeah.
She is very independent in her opinions. And I believe what makes her work out is what is actually in the public domain, which is
and what is in the report that was not captured, probably whatever she wanted to be captured.
Yes, I mean, basically, the bottom line is the living standard.
Okay.
How expensive it is. I believe that she feels that it was not tackled well. It was not consulted widely. And I don't think the outcome that she intended on reducing or decreasing the standard of living of the citizens, it has not been really captured as she intended initially. And she believes, I don't think she will necessarily want to walk out in protest, but if given a chance to really discuss this and handle these specific issues, I have no doubt she will also come on the table. Not necessarily to say that I support Azimio, but for the sake of Kenyans, I think we can move forward together.
All right. Yes. Front page of the Standard newspaper.
Just a minute.
Okay.
What Naftal is saying has some sort of truth in it. I was with somebody, some leaders years back, and they were giving an example of what happened in 2002 election before the Kibaki Tosha theme. Somebody said they were seated somewhere at Intercontinental Hotel discussing, and then Raila Odinga walks out, and then kidogo baadaye they hear the man somewhere saying Kibaki Tosha, and they're like, we were in a meeting, we haven't even approved of this one. And then moving forward again, we find a situation in 2018 where guys are somewhere are waiting for a call through Nigerian line.
But we all agree and that in politics, like in going to war, you don't tell your opponent your next move.
Good, and that is what he's saying. There is something called a private agreement. You see, private means...
So it's not from Honorable Raila Odinga and President to have a private agreement.
That is very in order. The point now, the point is, there is usually that private. There is always an undercard and the card on the table. The undercard is this one which I talk with you and say, this is how we are going to execute this.
You may attend.
Yes, you may attend. I have my people. We are going to talk and agree. Okay. And then when we come here in front, we talk what we want everybody to hear. But undercard, we have our own agreement and arrangements. That is what he's saying, and I agree with him. There is a lot of, in politics, there is a lot of public and private agreements. The private, not everybody is too familiar with.
Is that one of the golden rule used in politics?
The truth is that unless Raila and his team decide that this will be the end of the road for Azimio, then I would, and he believes that, as we said earlier, that his personal interest overshadows the interest of Azimio, then that argument can sell. But if Raila and his cohorts, including former Vice President Kalonzo, believe that truly speaking, who they speak for is the citizens, and they represent the opposition, and really they want to push back these proposals by Kenya Kwanza, they can only do it when they are still together. And of course, again, the fact that Raila has decided, quote unquote, to have this private conversation with His Excellency the President, historically, it's not off the table, but I don't think it has come out.
There was a meeting at Mombasa. It happened.
But who knows the content?
That is why we are saying.
No, we
there was a private.
So what was that conversation?
Exactly.
Yes.
You can't know a private conversation.
You cannot.
You can never know.
But which is fine. So we cannot say there was a private.
So we're making assumptions. We're making assumptions. We're making assumptions here.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You all win then. You all win.
Yes.
Front page of the Standard newspaper. Experts. Kibaki would be shocked at Rutonomics. Kibaki would be shocked at Rutonomics. This is what it says. That economists say that President Ruto claims of copying former President Moi Kibaki's economic playbook seem not to be working, as his policies and interventions point in the opposite direction, leaving Kenyans desperate and hurting. Page 4 and 5. Kibaki would be shocked at Rutonomics. Okay, we have got interest, 10%. The central bank rate is at 10%, up from 7.2% in July 2022. Since then, it has been on a steady climb. Again, front page very quickly. Fierce gang leader set to welcome Kenya police in 200-year-old Haiti mess. All right. So Haiti decades of gang violence has been well documented due to its long history of bloody coups and political instability. And it all started with slaves revolting against their French masters in 1804. And now, Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, is out of the country to Haiti for 3 days on a fact-finding mission. That is what it is. Let me start with you, Naftali. Again, there is no secret card here. On the front page, experts, Kibaki would be shocked as tokenomics. Very quickly.
How? Why? Why shocking? You know, what William Ruto is doing is what Kibaki did in 2003. Kibaki laid down a framework as far as our financial or fiscal policies are concerned in 2003, and the Kenyans were taxed heavily. It is Kibaki who introduced that 2%. When you do business with the government debits 2%, indicating the Kenya Revenue Authority that you have done business with our government. So, follow this person to pay the remaining 14%. It is because of these measures that we saw Kenya advance from one stage to another as far as our economic policies were concerned. So, there is nothing different from what William Ruto is doing. I said earlier, of course, we need some other funds to encourage the growth of our economy, maybe from donors, grants, and borrowing. But the major funding ought to come from the people. And I've indicated earlier that taxes are the ones that drive a nation. When you see developed countries worldwide, can I give you an example? The United States of America have built their nation since 1777 through taxes. China the same. England the same. It is about the people. It is we who can sacrifice for our nation. Singapore was at par with Kenya at independence. The reason why they are above now or distinguished from us is that they devoted themselves, they committed themselves to give taxes to the government. And the government was responsible and accountable. So the people of Kenya must not fear to give the government. It is our government.
Let's take a break.
It is the government of Kenya where we live.
It is our show. Let's take a break.
For taxes.
We'll be right back with more.
A break for taxes.
Dr. Ali and of course David Alulu. It is our show. We'll be right back with it. Stay with us.
This is just crazy. It's just like
From the dawn of independence to the present day, Kenya has journeyed with strength and determination. We celebrate Kenya at 60. As we mark this incredible milestone, KBC and Jamboree present an unforgettable celebration of culture, music, and awareness. Immerse yourself in a musical journey featuring global sensations like the Mighty Itals and Everton Blender, all the way from Kingston, Jamaica, alongside our incredible homegrown artists. But it's not just about the music. Join us for a day of cancer awareness and a fun-filled family day, including horse riding, bouncing castles for the kids, and a special tree planting exercise. Save the dates as we tour a county near you. Ticket information is available on our social media handles at Jamboree Festival KE. Join the celebration, feel the rhythm, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Happy birthday, Kenya.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation. Upper KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Basi karibu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
And you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
All right, welcome back to the show. It is our show. Nathani said it is our country. Of course, it is our country as well. All right, so on the front page of the Standard newspaper, I'm going to give you a minute each, DG and David. Experts, Kibaki would be shocked as autonomics. DG, go ahead. Front page.
You know, I am by all means not an expert in economics, but I can tell you as a layman economist that certainly there is a huge difference in the direction that Kibaki took and the direction that His Excellency the President is taking now. Because for one, Kibaki started with devolution, before devolution, and then he left us about 1.8 trillion. By the time Uhuru left, it was almost 8.7 trillion. And now, just 1 year down the road, we are already almost above that by almost 2 trillion. And I think you can imagine what will happen in the next 4 years. Are we talking about 20, 25, if we go at this rate? So I think it's completely divergent in the sense that, we cannot equate the two. Yes.
All right, David. I wouldn't want to imagine that we would want to compare the former President Kibaki and His Excellency the President right now, because even the times are so different.
Yes.
Times are so different because, like the DG is saying,
the world has evolved.
Yes, like the DG is saying, back then we didn't have devolution. Now we have devolution. We have every county wanting to get a stake, a portion of the cake. And the needs have really grown. And even in terms of development, I think Kenya has gone far much ahead. So by all means, people will start or will try to see the negativities in what is going on. But if you want to look at it with a clear eye, I think we are on the right trajectory. DG here would tell you, if he wants to, that as a government they are managing in Mandera, there are more resources needed than back then when it was just a district. Because a district, they would get something small and nobody would ask what percentage do we have. But today you'll hear them say, we want 35%. Why? Because there is expectations of wananchi who voted for them, and they must keep looking for the resources and revenues to increase on the promises they pledged the people of Mandera.
Yes.
So as a country, I think it is wrong to compare the two, because these are two different times. It is also not good to compare the two, because William Ruto is not an economist like Kibaki was. William Ruto is a man who thinks differently from how Kibaki thought. Maybe the only thing that might bring them closer is that they both are very, Kibaki was very strong in terms of raising revenues, and William Ruto also has come out strongly speaking about taxes. But like he said, if you are not willing to pay for what you want to own, then don't expect you shall be a rich man. If you want to succeed in life, you should be willing to expend. By paying for your expenditures, you are a successful man. And as a country, we must be ready to pay for the development of our country. We can't develop depending only on loans and grants. We should have our own cake to bargain with. And what do you bargain with? You bargain by the revenues and taxes that are collected by the country. I was telling a friend the other day, Kenya...
David, but how much taxes are enough for Kenyans to accept?
It can never be enough.
You know,
it can never be enough. That is one.
Because
number two, today even if we lowered, somebody will still say we are a poor country.
Yes.
Let's just do without. All right? So do we want to do without? Do we want to content and satisfy everyone? The answer is no. Somebody must make a decision somewhere and say, let's pay the price. Let's swallow the bitter pill. And by doing so, somebody must start the initiative, and the initiative has taken effect by the national government.
I think the idea is that we need a balance in this taxation. We just don't need to go blindly tax everything. We need to grow our businesses. I can tell you for a fact that, for example, Eastleigh business people are very much, contributing to, our revenues, largely here, especially in Nairobi County. But I can tell you, because of these taxes, just non-stop taxing of everything, they are looking at other avenues. I am told that a number of the businesses in Eastleigh are now shifting base to Uganda, Kampala, and many of them are going to Tanzania. And so we don't want, a zero-sum game where you want to achieve, but also you're losing on the other hand.
So where do we strike the balance?
So that's what I'm talking about. Right. I think this is something that I don't think there is enough wide consultation to look at these things more widely. It's just continued non-stop taxing this and taxing that. And, businesses have to really thrive. The president has promised that we will be creating jobs and more employments. It looks like in the direction we are taking, I think we are losing more jobs than we are creating. Yeah. And I think we should look more in depth into the way we are doing our taxes. But I can tell you this has serious impact on major mid-level businesses. Yes.
Right. What I think is this. President Ruto is just 1 year into the office. And actually what is happening right now, it is his first proposal of all these things. He's using his first Finance Act, right? Recently, I think a few days ago, I saw proposals of working on checking which areas are too much and where are we supposed to rectify. So I know President and his team are wise enough to know going this direction will hurt us more. And I am anticipating, I don't know, but I'm anticipating as we move forward. Yes. Like he said, of course, I am also in business, and I know many business people are hurting. And as a country, we would want to have a conversation on which areas we can work on. But my point, DG, was we can't run away from paying the taxes. Yeah. We can't look at it as a bad demon attacking us. It's not a bad spirit. It's a good thing. We need to agree that we need to pay the taxes.
Right. It's the same thing on the front page of the Daily Nation here. Kenya's debt hole, that is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. We'll be talking about that one pretty shortly, but how about I'll take you through what we have on the front page of international papers. Let me start with the front page of the BBC. This is what it looks like. Israeli ground forces pushing into southern Gaza. Of course, shelling and fighting also resumed after the deadline of the talks. So what we have is Israel-Gaza war, Israel forces pushing into South Gaza. This was updated around 7 hours ago on the front page of the BBC. It says that Israeli ground forces are pushing into southern Gaza after 3 days of heavy bombardment. Initial reports from Israel Army Radio effectively confirmed that Israel has launched a ground operation to the north of Khan Yunis. And the head of Israel Defense Forces later told troops that the IDF was also fighting strongly and thoroughly in South Gaza. Gentlemen, it's not coming out. They started to have some truce, but when the deadline collapsed, this is what it is. The 7-day truce saw Hamas release 110 hostages after being held in Gaza in return for 240 Palestinians being released from Israeli prisons. You are a mediator. Naftali, what do we see here?
Okay, number one, before mediation.
Yes.
Protocols 1 and 2, additional to the Geneva Conventions of 1977, are the most widely accepted legal documents in the world.
Yes.
So Protocol 1 handles protection of victims in international armed conflicts. Then Protocol 2 handles with protection of victims of non-international armed conflicts.
Yes.
So these are legal documents that act in conformity with the international humanitarian law. Whatever you see at Gaza is a humanitarian crisis. And whenever you have a humanitarian crisis, then humanitarian diplomacy come into play. Because humanitarian diplomacy is persuading decision makers and opinion shapers to act at all interests in the best interest of the vulnerable with full respect for fundamental humanitarian principles.
But are they following Netanyahu, who says that they are still going to continue the war? I mean, are they still following the golden rules they're talking about?
Yeah, I'm saying this. So we contain a framework in the United Nations whereby we use diplomatic tools. Number one is negotiation. Number two is advocacy. Number three is impartiality. So Netanyahu will be summoned, ought to be summoned by the United Nations and the hierarchy because they are acting in the best interest of the vulnerable. We are all human beings, and we are entitled to any basic right or freedom to all of us, to which no government may interfere. So the people of Palestine must experience these humane characteristics of their persons. So if Netanyahu then pushes hard, then the United Nations, I'm telling you as an expert in humanitarian diplomacy, that at long last, the people of Palestine are going to get justice because of the international humanitarian law, where we have like 162 states party to Protocols 1 and 2, additional to the Geneva Conventions of 1977.
I make a very... Yes, DJ.
Yeah, I think Naftali has a good point, but the truth is that, first of all, in the end, Palestinians will win. I think that must be known clearly. It may look unrealistic right now, it may look impossible, but history tells us otherwise. If you look, historical happenings in Israel, even going back to the Roman wars and all that. But coming to Netanyahu and the actual war that's happening right now, I think Netanyahu is a guy who is a war maniac, just going crazy. He's excited about the number of kills. I mean, for him, people are numbers. We killed 1,000, we killed 2,000, we killed 500. No regard for children or poor people or whatever. So he's a guy who thrives in this genocide. And he's the same guy who will tell us about Holocaust and Jews being killed and all that stuff. Unfortunately, America, which is supposedly the police of our world today, has given him a blind support. Regardless of what they do, the first statement that comes from them is that Israel has a right to defend itself. Defend what? What are they defending? I mean, how can you defend yourself against children and mothers, lactating mothers? How can you defend yourself against patients in hospitals? It's unprecedented what they have done. In history, there is no any war where the number of healthcare facilities were destroyed as it has been destroyed.
They've always remained
right now.
Intact.
Yes. Yeah. So these guys have any red tapes, and they have no respect to protocols, whatever kind, humanitarian or whatever. And they have a blank check to do what they want when they want. They can kill as many as possible. Just flip that. If today, Hamas, not Hamas, but Palestinians, in this war alone have lost about 14,000 people. Israel has lost something in the neighborhood of 1,400, 1,500. Now, if you flipped that, and today it was Israel that has lost the 15,000 people, we will be talking about something else. We are going to be talking about a global war. Yeah. The whole world will be massive. It will even affect us here in Kenya. But now it looks like, there are some people who are of lesser human, beings, as they call them, subhumans. And so some of the things are really, and it makes you questioning really what America stands for and what all these global policing organizations stand for. United Nations has said again and again that this is wrong and it should stop and all that, but nobody is listening to them because in many of the resolutions that UN has done, a lot of the people voted for ceasefire, but America disregards it. Vetoed, a couple of times right now, I think. And I think we are seeing that justice and fairness is only justice and fairness when it's in favor of America and the West.
That's quite informative. All right. As David would say, Naftali would say, as a mediator, there's just so much that is going in between the talks behind the scenes, and we just hope that at some point you'll not. But David, the Bible, you know your story. Israelites are here. David, in the Bible, we know. Let me take you very quickly on the front page of the France 24. Again, it's almost the same thing. Israel bombs Gaza. There you go. All right. Israel bombs Gaza, launches ground invasion despite calls to protect civilians. Israeli ground forces were confronting Hamas fighters across the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military said on Sunday, and it hits, and it is clearest indication yet that a planned ground offensive in the enclave's refugee-crowded south had begun as Israeli bombing killed and wounded dozens of Palestinians. This is what's there. Actually, they updated 2 minutes ago. This is what it looks like. And you see, it's all tears. It's burning tires, and it's not so good. And they say that when your brother's house is on fire, please make sure that you take a look at what's happening there. It might just come to affect. So in summary, Israel said that it had expanded its ground operation to all Gaza on Sunday night. Residents of the southern city of Khan Yunis reported hearing the sound of tank fire. Israeli forces bombed both the north and south of Gaza Strip on Sunday for a third day since the end of a truce with Hamas. But what will bring this truce? What would bring this truce back to what would bring, definitely, more than 15,000, DG, as you correctly put it, more than 15,000 people, 15,523 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli strikes in the last 2 months. 15,000, that's huge. That is almost part of your population in Mandera.
Absolutely, absolutely. And 15,000 human beings that have been killed. And unfortunately, because of the Western influence and because of the kind of protection Israel has and Netanyahu has, they are really objecting to the use of the word genocide. And this is clearly genocide,
Because when it hits 15,000, then that is that basically.
I mean, yes, total genocide. Yeah. And the sad part is that it is indiscriminate. Just children and just the neighbors. You've seen some of the buildings in Hamas. They're talking about in Gaza. They're talking about almost 50-60% of those buildings have been totally destroyed, meaning that this agenda is really not meant to revenge whatever Hamas did on the 7th of October.
Let me get from Naftali. What will bring these people?
Yeah, my perspective, number one, when you look at in the book of Exodus chapter 6 verse 8.
Just a minute, I have my Bible with me. Continue.
And I will bring you into the land I swore with uplifted hands.
The book of Exodus?
Yeah,
okay.
Chapter 6, verse 8. And I'm using the New International Version. And I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hands to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord. Full stop. Don't you know that Gaza is part of the land that God swore with uplifted hands to give to the Jews? So who are you to resist what God has commanded? So Netanyahu and his people have this in mind, that this thing we have been given, it is ours to possess. So whether they kill people or not, it is up to them. But they have been given.
Remind me of that verse again.
Exodus chapter 6, verse 8. Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Mine, I'm using the New International Version. And I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hands to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as your possession.
David is not
I am the Lord.
David, you know David in the Bible, King David, king of Israel. We all know your story, David. Are you listening?
Yes, I'm listening.
Right?
You know, last time I was with Naphtal here, he said something that kept me wondering. He said Israel is landless. That's what he said.
Of course, no.
So
they are aliens. They are aliens.
Today, he has made another statement using the Bible that this is a promised land. And so Israel is going for their promised land.
What they have been promised by their creator.
But my thinking, like what the French president said the other day, I think it's about time that Israel made it clear what exactly they're looking for.
Yeah.
All right? Without having to say Hamas is right or Israel is wrong, we need to now come back to the drawing board and ask ourselves some serious questions like the DG says. What about the innocent children and women and everybody who did not go, they're even not associated to the doings of Hamas, but they're paying the price. So there comes a time when the international community and Israel now needs to sit down and review their strategies and their agenda and consider the human dignity in Gaza. So because no blood is worth what is going on in Gaza.
Yeah.
And so for me, as history would have it, King David, I would say let peace reign.
Let peace trail.
Yeah.
But we all know who David was.
Yeah, you know. Of course you know. He was a king. He was a king.
Victor, did you know that King David,
I know where you are going, but just
killed many people until God himself, King David killed many people, shed so much blood until God himself said, you are not going to build me a temple. Your son will do it. Why? You have shed a lot of blood.
David, let's come back home. Okay, coming back home, it's always good to, go 360. Yes. All right, Kenya State Hall, that is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Very quickly, Kenya State Hall, pretty much the same thing as on the front page of the Standard. It says that whereas new 2 trillion shillings loans from IMF and World Bank have eased fears of the countries defaulting on the Eurobond. They are plunging the countries deeper into debt. And now, besides being saddled with the tough conditions such as punitive tax measures and removal of subsidies, that have only made life harder for many Kenyans. So there is a graphic here of what President Kibaki found, President Uhuru Kenyatta found, and now currently what President William Ruto has found in store. And now it says that as per the economy, money going into debt service on verge of surpassing government and county spending. That is what we have here. Higher fuel price on the cards as Ruto pushes for new carbon tax. That is happening in Dubai, COP28. Very quickly, that should be it. Allow me, gentlemen, to ask you this question. What have you taken with you so far? We are coming to the close of the year, 2023. Naftali, what have you picked to this end? Politically, economically, socially, and everything else. Let's take a political 360. Let's take a look at what has been there. What has stood out for you?
Yeah. So, number one, yesterday was a very important day. It was the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. This day was inaugurated on 3rd December 1992 by the United Nations General Assembly, Resolution number 47/4. So in regard with the persons with disabilities and the minorities and the marginalized groups, the government of Kenya has worked very hard to come up with legislative and other measures to ensure that these minorities and marginalized groups access services as part of what? Other Kenyans. Number two, when you look at the comparison you have with the former regimes, I see the current regime as formidable in regard to foreign policy, foreign affairs, and international trade. Because when you see Kenya Vision 2030, then this vision ought to be in conformity or in harmony with the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations. So the Honorable William Ruto is committed, has that sincere and steadfast fixed of purpose as far as foreign policy is concerned, because he knows this is where he's going to derive the Kenyan sustainable developments as far as the national values and principles of governance are concerned. So when you talk about zero hunger, quality education, gender equality, affordable and clean energy, it is for the purposes of harmonizing our economic and social rights in Article 43. So in regard to international obligations of the Republic, the President has done it number one. So I give him like an airplane. Now, in regard to economy, it is what he has said in the Kenya Kwanza plan that as far as cost of living is concerned, this is not a short-term thing. It is a long-term thing where production and value addition is included. So the government is working on the cost of living. What needed from the people of Kenya is that good natured tolerance of this delay or any incompetence. We believe that we shall overcome. Mandela went on to explain how they developed the manifesto of Umukonto Wasinswe on the 16th December 1961, intent on exposing the failures of the National Party's policies after the economy would be threatened by foreigners and willingness to risk investing in South Africa. Then Mandela ended his statement, and you will kindly allow me to quote him. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to the struggle of African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a free and a democratic society in which all persons live together in peace and in harmony. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I'm prepared to die. Unquote. And these were the last words of Mandela before going into detention. So what we are looking here is responsibilities of leadership. Who are our leaders? According to Article 73 of the Kenyan Constitution of 2010, every state officer and a public officer in all our state organs have that responsibility. The social force that binds them for the courses of action demanded by that force. And one of them is public trust. Number two is competence. Number three is suitability. Number four is impartiality. Number five is objectivity. Then honesty in the execution of public duties. When we say that authority assigned to a state officer A is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that Roman 1 is consistent with the purposes and objects of this constitution. Roman 2 promotes respect to the people. Romans 3 brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office. And Roman 4 promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. And B vests in the state officer the responsibility to serve the people rather than the power to rule them.
I have power to take a break bestowed upon me. Gentlemen, let's take a break.
Thank you.
Let's keep some dignity. Wow.
The stage is set for a showcase of young talents as Kenya hosts the Sekafa Under-18 Championship from the 25th of November to 8th of December in Kisumu and Kakamega. Kenya, Sudan, Rwanda, Somalia, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Uganda are battling for the title in the two-week tournament. The group phase matches are scheduled 25th of November to 1st of December. Then the semi-finals will be played on 5th of December and the final on 8th of December, all in Kisumu. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Wacha kuniambia hapana, hebu kuja hapa. Utalipa ama ulipi? Mimi nakwambia utalipa ama ulipi. We Mogaka!
Nini? Nini? Nani wewe?
Nini?
Na kebeza chakwa.
Ni nini? Tunajuana?
Tunajuana nini? Zinakunjwani wewe ndio umefanya nibudwe ganzi.
Wewe kama una maneno ya kuniambia ni vizuri uende zako, sitaki hiyo kujia. Tembea.
Unajua nikitembea vizuri utaona kama na kuona vipaya.
Hata umenikumbusha. Hii kitu hata sitaki kutembea nayo maana sitaki kuizoea sana. Rudisha uweke pale.
Sawa.
Weka tu nje ya hiyo mlango yangu nimeacha nimefunga. Mogaka.
Itakuaje? Oya.
Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Ameke wrong denel mshetani over.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiongea kitu kia Patrick sana. Rosi Paul.
Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Hizi zote zimebaki December, September, October. Wanaona, I know my Israel. Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Yes. All right. We're having a very interesting discussion here. DG says that he was born at the first border point, Kenya.
Yes.
The first beacon, Kenya beacon, that's where it is.
Yes, beacon number one.
Border
point one is beacon number one of Kenya. Out of the 286 beacons we have.
Okay, you'll tell us more about that.
Yes.
So what has been there for you in 2023? I will ask you this question with more focus on devolution. The two gentlemen talked about devolution and of course about economy. Take me through some of the stages that you people as the county government with the national government that you've gone through in terms of devolution, how it has worked for you, or it's not worked for you, and generally how 2023 has been for you in the country.
Well, we are just only 1 year old.
Yes.
Probably in a few more months. But and devolution has been in existence 10 years before we actually came in. So by and large, I think, first of all, devolution has been a blessing for this country. Because in places like where I come from, which has never had an opportunity to, to develop, and see a bit of the national revenue, the first time we have started seeing some flow of money into the county in terms of development and employment and other resources was during the devolution. And really, we want to build on that, do more and more and more and more. However, you know, a lot of people look at the allocations to the counties as a lot of money. In reality, when you look at the development gap, for example, in where I come from, which has not really been developed in many ways, you will find that that's just a minuscule. It's just nothing, because I mean, you talk about, for instance, 10 billion, and half of that, 5 billion, goes into salaries and wages. Probably another 2 or 3 goes into what you call recurrence. And so what is left for you to develop for development becomes really very small. But there has been a push by Council of Governors for more. As you know, what we're talking about is that 15% of our budget goes to the county governments, and it goes to the 47 of them. If you divide 15% by 47, you're looking at something less than 0.5, something slightly less than that. And you can imagine, counties are expected to do a lot of developments. On-source revenue for some counties is not that strong. But we still appreciate, however little it is doing some fantastic work for us.
All right, nationally?
Nationally, generally, in terms of what stands out in 2023 is that, for us, we're always looking at His Excellency the President's activities nationally. Of course, I can say he's doing fairly well. The President is doing fairly well. But what has come out really for me is the new Ruto that has shown the Pan-African face. Who now, when he is out there, he is now the true Pan-Africanist. And he has really shaken quite a bit of some quotas in terms of the strength and the courage that he comes out with. He has created a lot of global, excitements around the way he was talking about having our own currency, opening our borders. And I think that did not sit well with a lot of traditional superpowers. So I think that sets very well for us Africans, that if we push in that direction and we try to depend on ourselves, and I think His Excellency the President fits very well to continue pushing.
Naftali is happy hearing that statement.
Yes.
I mean, how is that changing our face generally, David? Because, I mean, our international relations is also important, much as we need to build ourselves. They say charity begins at home, but it should not end there. So we also have to spread it out there.
Absolutely.
What's really standing out? We are still there counting down to the end of 2023 up to this point.
I would say 2023 has been significant for the Kenya Kwanza government because I remember this statement when President once said somewhere, I don't remember where it was. He said he's going to make sure maandamano haifanyiki tena Kenya. And looking at how things are happening, that statement from Raila Odinga that this document is not what we wanted, but at least we have something to begin with. Tuko na kitu ya kuanzia. And everything must start from somewhere. To me, it was a very positive sentiment from Raila Odinga that we traditionally know he was almost against everything. So it was a good sign that opposition, for some reason, was agreeing with the government that yes, we might not have gotten everything we bargained for, but at least we have gotten something at hand. We can't let it go. That was the statement. We can't let it go. So one, the government has managed to have this conversation with the opposition. It's a good sign for the country that we can. It is a clear sign that much as we disagree in many things, but we can have a conversation. We can talk to each other and not talking at each other. So to me, I think it is a plus for us as a country. Number two, like DG said, when you look at our president on the international platform, he has indicated that he is a Pan-Africanist. a man who thinks well for the continent. And, you know, it could have been so embarrassing and shameful that he fails to come home and neutralizes the ground and creates a platform for everybody to talk to each other. It could have been so embarrassing. But that he has managed to bring the government and the opposition side together to discuss and agree on a few issues, then on the global platform, then people see him like, okay, he's a man of his word. He said he will talk with the opposition, and they've managed. If we succeed to create that office of the opposition leader, and we have it active, you know, this is something the president spoke about even before he was elected. He promised that he would want to see an active office of the opposition, official opposition leader in place, and he seems to be on track with that.
Right.
So I think with many challenges, you know, starting something new and trying to fix everything, trying to correct the messes from the past, I think 2023 has been a good year to pick to take home some lessons, especially for those of us who are keenly following how leadership is done. I think we have a lot to take home to learn from, that even though things might look tough, we can always thrive from it. Number three, the noise and the complaints and everything about the taxations and the levies and everything, to me it's a good voice. It's a good voice that an ordinary Kenyan today can talk about taxes, levies and everything. Back then, people didn't know what it means to pay tax, actually. I got my KRA pin during President Kibaki's era. I didn't know what KRA pin was until he came and started talking about the KRA pin. So during Kibaki's era,
you're that young?
Yes, I'm young. I'm I'm very young. And you see, kings don't get old. You know that? Eh?
Oh, yes.
Kings don't get old.
Yeah. You're young at heart.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know about this KRA thing. Me, I knew ukiwa na kitambulisho, you are good to go.
Yes.
But then later on, I discovered there is more to life than just an ID. You can have a KRA, you file your returns and all that. And then it went on and on. At some point I realized you just don't have a KRA pin. You must have a tax compliance that every now and then you should apply for compliance to know that you comply. So when we hear people, me personally, when I hear people talking about NHIF, NSSF, people talking about KRA, people complaining about these things, to a good leader, that is positive, that people now understand. When we talk of civic education, it's a systematic way of educating people on these things, that you can go home and ask your child, what is KRA? They will tell you KRA is the institution collecting money from Kenyans. And then from there, we have a conversation to start. So 2023, to me, has been a good year.
What about our social ethos, DG? Have we, as a nation, brought ourselves together? Are we coexisting?
Well, I think by and large we are making good progress. You know, we have come from very far, and sometimes when you look at the current situation on its own, it doesn't make a good contextual understanding of what's going on. But when we look back in history where we started, we have gone through a lot of tough times in terms of our ethos, in terms of, you know, our social fabric. I think Kenya is really making very good progress. And I like the fact that David says that right now, unlike in the past, Kenyans are really participating in this conversation of taxation. You know, even the very ordinary mamas.
Because it's pinching almost everyone.
Yes. So
which is
really,
a good thing, right?
What is really important here is now comes in hand is public awareness and public campaign to make people understand why the government is taking taxes. You know, there are people who think that government takes taxes so that it can fund the president and his office and his governments. And then some of them call us, you know, those of us who are in government, thieves and corrupt. And they don't know that all the roads that we're enjoying and all the big infrastructure is a result of the money they are contributing. My contention with that only is that how much taxes do we need to collect to strike a good balance? But the very basic idea of taxation is very important, and it's what makes a difference between, you know, a good, you know, strong country against, you know, the opposite of that. As he said, Singapore is a very good example. But sometimes, you know, there are certain very good things that when you necessarily bring it and try to impose it on a country, we are not ripe for certain things. So we need a bit of, progressive indulgence and engagement. Right now, we have a very good opportunity to do a lot of campaign. The reason why we are seeing quite a bit of outcry is because I think there is proper lack of public campaign and public awareness, as he calls civic education, to the public why these taxes are needed and why they are required. And that's actually, I think,
and that is probably why the discussion and conversion is there.
And that's why we are failing right now, because Mama Mboga and the other people, the border borders, they need to understand why the fuel is going up. All these things. So I think generally it's works in progress. This country is moving forward. We are becoming part of the emerging nations across the world. So it's looking good.
All right, very well. Good. Yes, Naftali.
So how do you link social behavior, our ethos, our national values, humanity, equality, equity, inclusiveness? How do you link this with taxation? How? You see, many people, many Kenyans, and I've been listening to some of them. Someone messes you up on a single item of etiquette, and then they lean on hard living, cost of living. You see, the rules governing the socially acceptable behavior must not be linked to money. So I cannot be able to pick your phone and then I link it on taxes. How? So we need etiquette. We need moral values. We need that unbroken and undivided.
That as a nation?
I'm telling you, the problem with Kenya right now is not about taxes. It is about etiquette.
Okay.
How many people call your phone and then you do not answer? How many? Is that anything to do with the tax? Okay. It's about etiquette.
Okay, you're accusing me.
No. From where I sit,
you're accusing me.
I'm giving you a candid.
Okay.
A candid what? Discourse. That the people of Kenya must disassociate money and the cost of living from etiquette. Some of us, your mother calls you from at home in Kisi, and then you don't call back. Why? Because you do not have money? No. This is about etiquette. Our moral fabric has been destroyed. So let us sit back. In his own words, and you will kindly allow me to quote Martin Luther King Jr. If we are to go forward, then we must go back and rediscover these precious values. That all reality hinges on moral foundations and all reality has spiritual control. Full stop and unquote. So the people of Kenya, forget about education, forget about the economy. Let us go back from the family level, from the individual level, from your friends, your peers, and enhance and promote our etiquette. How to live with one another. Because part 4, I mean 5 of the preamble of the Constitution of Kenya states, we the people of Kenya committed to nurturing and protecting the well-being of the individual, family, communities, and the nation. So it begins from the individual, etiquette and protocol. You have etiquette.
Yes, that brings to the next question. How about our justice system? We've had, judges, in the corridors, probably again, you are well versed with that, Naftali. How about our justice system? Have we grown? What are some of the changes that you've seen or some of the lapses that you've seen in the year 2023? And probably where we need to work on. 1 minute before I take the mic off you.
Yeah. Yes. You see, one thing about our judiciary, it's like the way my brother David said. When you look at Kenya, generally, we have advanced almost everywhere. When you look at the concept of separation of powers and checks and balances, the judiciary, our own judiciary in the Republic of Kenya is one of the transformative judiciaries in the world. We have independence of the judiciary. Were it not for the independence of the judiciary, we could have had BBI, that BBI aspect being imposed on the people of Kenya. But when it went to the High Court, when somebody instituted court proceedings claiming that this constitution has been threatened or is threatened with the contravention, the judges there, led by Justice George Odunga, were led with the courage, the quality of spirit, which enabled them to face danger or pain without showing fear. And they gave a verdict in regard to the negligence we saw with the BBI. So that judiciary, as far as I'm concerned, I sit in the court annex mediation. Court annex mediation is a tribunal established by the Civil Procedure Act, Section 59A, 59B, 59C, and 59D, in conformity with Article 159 of our Constitution. The framers of our Constitution gave us the power or right to give orders and make decisions as far as alternative dispute resolution mechanisms is concerned. And this is where mediation, reconciliation, and arbitration.
No, I agree, but I want to go back to the issue of the ethos. That really, I think, as Naftali said, yes, the element of etiquette is important, but I think when we speak to the morals and the national values as a country and our ethos in general, I think, as I have said, we're making quite a big progress. The only thing is that in terms of coexistence, you go to any town in Kenya, and you'll find every community, most of my community, who are very, very good business people. So Kenyans are now, in the past we were in sort of tribal, cocoons. Kisii is for only Kisiis, and Garissa is only Somalis. But now you'll find, a Kisii thriving business in
go to Migori and find Somalis there, my friend. We are everywhere right
absolutely.
Now, right? Yes.
So I think. So
we can say that our etiquette, again, from what he's saying,
our morals, coexistence, the issue of also integrity. Again, a lot of it is a learning process. But I think we are significantly improving. Of course, again, there is the Africanness that we have to preserve. But, we are also part of a global system which has its influence on us and which now we have to be able to change as we continue to retain our core values. But we have to be part of a global system. There are certain things that we actually frown on here in Kenya, but are also common etiquette and common value in another country. And we have to be accepting of the other. And I think that's where we are going, both at our local levels, in our towns, at the national level, and even globally. Now we are viewing people a bit more friendly from other parts of the world and more accepting. And I think that is a very good thing, in my opinion.
Let's talk about the international relations, because we've had so many conferences happening in this country this year alone. We had Africa Climate Summit, which brought many heads of states in the country. UN Secretary was here. We had dignitaries across. And today, reported that forces are coming from DRC. We've taken our participation internationally. So what is our international relations generally this particular year as we come to a close? David?
I think, like I said earlier, our president has indicated to be a leader that wants to cut it across and more so create an environment where anybody or everybody feels welcome in Kenya. I was talking to a friend of mine who was actually surprised that there are many countries who are now allowed to come to Kenya without having to prior apply for visa before coming to Kenya. If you look at it with a positive eye, you see it is more like opening a platform for global investors to come into Kenya and do business with us. So international relations, I think Kenya is doing well. You just mentioned earlier, the Prime Cabinet Secretary is going to Haiti for a fact-finding mission to check on how the ground is. And to me, it will tell you that Kenya is now placing Kenya is placing herself at a platform where one would admire. You know, we are in that situation where there are countries who are admiring to be Kenyans. Some leaders are admiring to be like a Kenyan leader. So, you know, sometimes much as we want to complain so much, but again, we should agree there are some good things coming out of Kenya. Using an example of Naphtali, quoting the Bible, John chapter 1 verse 48 something, it says, can anything good come out of was it Jerusalem or something? Can anything good come from this place?
John chapter what?
And so you let's not go let's go and let's not start preaching, but this is a good example that there is still, amidst the shoutings, the cries, the frustrations and everything that people might be looking at, there is still good things coming out of Kenya. Going by the meetings and the conferences and even those, I think it is during this year that we've seen some of heads of states and governments we've never seen visiting Kenya. They've come, they've visited Kenya. We've had some really good time, including the king. He came here. So it tells you that on the international relations, I think we are doing well. I think the president, the presidential agenda on diplomatic score, foreign affairs, foreign relations, I think he's really doing it well. And then by the fact that he loves traveling.
A quick question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how have we fared as a country in 2023? On a scale of 1 to 10?
Scale of 1 to 10, it is tricky to give it a lot of scores because we are just starting. So I would give it, today I'll be fair, I'll give it 6.
You'll give it 6. That's space for improvement.
But on the issue of international relations, I think you have to understand that the number of trips the president has made out of this country in the last 1 year alone speaks to the fact that we are bridging a lot of relationships with many countries internationally, both on the Western Hemisphere, in the Eastern Hemisphere, China, and everywhere else. And I think we're doing a very big progress, not forgetting the fact that we have had major dignitaries coming from across the world. And also, in terms of, Kenya has cut itself such an image that it is part of the driving force of the international and the global progress in the world. The president also himself trying to position himself rightly as a Pan-Africanist, a man who now speaks for Africa after Gaddafi, so strongly is our president. And it has excited a lot of debate. Yes.
And again, scale of 1 to 10?
Well, so far I think I would agree with him, 6, 7 there. Yes.
We're doing well as a country.
Yes, yes.
Naphtali, 1 minute.
Yeah, on the scale of 1 to 10, 9. I give them.
Listen, he should give us a room for improvement.
Listen,
there's no room for improvement.
Listen,
9 as a country, we are doing well. 9.
Listen,
you're so generous to us.
Do you know why?
I don't know.
Kenyans have never, since the year began, every day William Ruto. It means there's something he's doing.
Point of focus.
Listen to me.
Yes.
The president, as far as I'm concerned, has been fair to all parties as dictated by reason and conscience. Article 132 envisages the functions of the president. Sub-Article 1, the president shall, paragraph C, once every year, Roman 3, submit a report for debate to the National Assembly on the progress made on the international obligations of the Republic.
Okay. All right. Okay. So out of 100%, cumulatively we are doing 21. 6, 6, 9. 21%. Generally, we are doing 21% as a nation.
We are good.
21%, we need to do more.
Yeah.
What is your calculation?
You give 6?
No, out of 100, I gave 60. He gave 60.
60?
I gave 90.
Out of 100.
Okay, I said out of 10.
Out of 10.
Yes. So 6, 6, 9, 21.
Yeah.
So we still have room for improvement. But
it is 21 out of 30.
Very sorry. Very quickly. I really want to understand how things are in the north right now that we have lots of rains in the north.
Yes.
You are what affected?
I think that is a very important debate right now in the country. And it's not only for the north and Kenya, although it is the one that is largely affected and impacted by the El Nino. You know, for the last 7-8 months, the meteorological department, the weatherman, has been predicting El Nino, El Nino. And then somehow we got ourselves to prepare for the disaster, as you would expect. But at some point, I don't know what happened, they went to misadvise, I think His Excellency the President, who said that this is not El Nino. In fact, this is just heavy rain. So then that has really slowed down our preparedness as a county and many other counties like ourselves.
Have you reported any deaths so far?
So yeah. We're talking about, at least in my county, we're talking about, about 14, 15 deaths across the county.
15.
And this was just unprecedented. I don't know how many of you are still, in existence in 1997, El Nino.
Yeah.
David just said he got his KRA some 10 years ago. I don't know whether he was born then. But I'll tell you that it is probably twice as much impactful as El Nino of 1997. A lot of people have really, spoke very negatively about the county governments and many in northern Kenya asking for help and support. But that is very reasonable because, this is unprecedented disaster. It's more like the storms and the hurricanes and the earthquakes. I'm coming to that.
Yes.
I'm coming to that. But I want Kenyans to understand why we are always out there talking about this issue because, in the northern part of this country, despite the colonial times, we gained independence in 1963 as a country. We were born then, and that's when we started building our country. But in reality, Kenya is 60 years old. I would say northern Kenya is only 10 years old, the 10 years of devolution. So in terms of infrastructure, we have no infrastructure, and that's why you are seeing there are no drainages. That's why you are seeing the roads are cut off.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing, even we are not part of the national grid, we depend on diesel. And when the roads are cut, then we have no diesel, we have no power, and then we have no network. And so a lot of these people do not have a good historical background of where our country came from.
Okay.
But I say that where I come from, we're only 10 years old in terms of development. And in terms of realizing some kind of level of inclusivity in this country. I would tell you, my friend, that even today, because of how we came during and because of the colonial policies, I don't know if you have been to Garissa, when you are crossing from Garissa to the south, somehow you feel that the Garissa crossing looks like a border point.
Yeah.
Within our country, it looks like Namanga or Busia. And that should not be the case. There has to be free movements in this country. Okay. And we are perpetuating the colonial policies still.
Okay. Thank you. We have to stop at that particular point. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I had to give in the last time because northern Kenya is worst affected by the drought.
Yes.
And now the El Nino phenomenon that we are facing in the country, you just have to give us a rundown. But I hope no deaths have been reported so far and humanitarian aid is reaching the county as needed, right?
That's reported.
Thank you so much. All right. Last way we wrap it up. Thank you so much. But as Oswells, we must have finished with a lighter note. This is what it looks like. DG, you look so serious here. Open. You see, you're very focused. Looking at the camera straight. David, where are you? David, there you have it. Fist on the table. I don't know what you are frowning about. Was that point coming so hard on you, David? You see?
My coffee.
Okay, all right. Naftali, look at that look. Like, where? Unaniangalia aje?
Yes.
That point was coming from you. All right?
He was thinking about the landless Israel.
Yes.
And how these people are doing. Thank you so much. David Alulu, political and financial analyst, thank you so much for coming on the show. For the first time, Dr. Ali Mali Mohamud, who is the Deputy Governor of Mandera County, pardon, also joining me on the show, as well as he's called himself the public certified professional mediator. Naftali, thank you so much for coming to the show. Gentlemen, asanteni sana. And you as the viewer, asanteni for joining me. My name is Victor. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
From the dawn of independence to the present day, Kenya has journeyed with strength and determination. We celebrate Kenya at 60. As we mark this incredible milestone, KBC and Jamboree present an unforgettable celebration of culture, music, and awareness. Immerse yourself in a musical journey featuring global sensations like the Mighty Itolls and Everton Blender, all the way from Kingston, Jamaica, alongside our incredible homegrown artists. But it's not just about the music. Join us for a day of cancer awareness and a fun-filled family day, including horse riding, bouncing castles for the kids, and a special tree planting exercise. Save the dates as we tour a county near you. Ticket information is available on our social media handles at Jamboree Festival KE. Join the celebration, feel the rhythm, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Happy birthday, Kenya.
Awacha kuniambia hapana, hebu kuja hapa. Utalipa ama ulipi? Mimi nakwambia utalipa ama ulipi. We Mogaka!
Nini? Nini? Nani wewe?
Nini?
Na kebeza chakwa.
Ni nini? Tunajuana?
Tunajuana nini? Zinakunjwani wewe ndio umefanya nibudwe ganzi.
Wewe kama una maneno ya kuniambia ni vizuri uende zako, sitaki hiyo kujia. Tembea.
Unajua nikitembea vizuri utaona kama na kuona vibaya.
Hata umenikumbusha. Hii kitu hata sitaki kutembea nayo maana sitaki kuizoea sana. Rudisha uweke pale.
Sawa.
Weka tu nje ya hiyo mlango yangu nimeacha nimefunga. Mogaka.
It's a cocktail of emotions, the puns that cracks up the family, greed that yields power, and a hunger for success. Friends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living. Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
All right, you're just in time for another segment on Good Morning Kenya, which is transformative leaders. And today we are dealing with leadership legacy in architecture, education, and philanthropy. And to help me with this conversation in studio today, I'm joined by one architect, Philip Kungu. Karibu sana to the studio.
Thank you very much.
How is your Monday morning coming along?
It's coming on fine.
Yes.
Starting out here, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your leadership journey. How has it been since you have served in several areas within your profession and also in public service?
Yeah, my leadership journey has been very, very long. Well over close to over 35 years or so. But it is important just to mention how the leadership started, because sometimes it starts in very humble ways and ways which you even yourself, you are not even aware, you're not even sure.
Yeah.
I'll cite 2 examples of where my leadership journey started. When I was in primary school in Standard 3, our class teacher, without asking me, without telling me why, just came one morning and said, Philip, you're going to be the class monitor of this class. So one instance, I don't know what it is she saw in me or why she did that. And then I went into secondary school, in Upper Hill School. And in second year, our house, the teachers were in charge of houses, and I was in what was called Athi House. And our master for Athi House, one Mr. Austin Oruk, in Form 2, came and told me, Philip, you're going to be the captain of Athi House.
Wow.
Now I'm in a Form 2, but you're in a school which has students from Form 1 to Form 6.
Wow.
So it meant in Form 2, I was also a captain for people who are up to Form 6. And after that, it's just been a roller coaster in terms of leadership in one position or the other. And I've held very, very many leadership positions in this country, internationally, in my profession, in other professions as well. So I feel blessed, and it's been a good and learning journey.
Yes.
Yes.
So how has that journey shaped your understanding, and probably how has it shaped your understanding and perspectives when it comes to leadership?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest lessons I've learned, and it's now coming together, is that leadership is about service, going beyond oneself, serving society, serving fellow human beings for the greater good. And that's what really leadership ought to be about making society better, adding value, making a difference in people's lives, at whatever level, at whatever station you are in life. That for me is about leadership, making the situation, making people better than they are. And in fact, my own personal mantra that drives me is service above self. That's what drives me in my leadership journey. Yes.
Now, your career embodies legacy in architecture and aspects of philanthropy. How does that help you communicate or relate with people, especially the upcoming young leaders?
Yeah, I think that we must start perhaps first with qualities of who a leader is.
Yes.
Because that's where it all starts. And you get these opportunities to lead. To be a leader, I think first and foremost is the issue of honesty and integrity. You must be an honest person in your life, in what you do, and you must come out as such, that you're a person whose integrity is beyond reproach. For me, that is a very fundamental underpinning of any person who wants a leadership position. I've been very lucky that in my life I was brought up by parents who, if didn't have anything else in life, valued honesty and integrity. And that's how we were taught. So that's a starting point for anybody who wants to be in leadership. Of course, there are very many other attributes to do with that. But as I said, leadership is a journey, and you also bring in the question of legacy. Of course, legacy then matters towards the end.
Yes.
Is that what is it that you'd like people to remember you for? And some of these are the attributes that you'd like people to remind you, to remember you for. So, being honest, being compassionate about people. Now, in leadership, the aspect of empathy, being in touch with people's feelings, their pains, feeling what they are also feeling is very important. And unfortunately, I think for us in this country, we look at leadership within the narrow prism of politics. And that's very unfortunate. Politics has got its role, its very important role in the development of a country. But whenever in Kenya somebody refers to you as a leader or a kiongozi, they probably are looking at you from a political point. And I think we miss the point completely. And yes, then when you've been through this legacy, this leadership, your legacy should worry you. What is it that you want people to remember you for? I would say that in my leadership journey, I know I've inspired many people in various stations I've had in the academy and the profession. There are people who give testimonies in my absence about how I've inspired them, so that they can not only be good at what they do, but they can also be better human beings. To that extent, I feel this good. And these are things that people will remember you for. And as I've always said, when people give testimony about you in your absence and they say good things, it means you are doing good things, you're a good leader. Yes.
Your academic pursuits have placed you at a point where you have been you have become a thought leader, especially in your area of a profession that is architecture. Right. Now, what do you think is how does that help you navigate the challenges that come within your profession and in essence in the area of leadership?
Yeah. From my profession, let me explain so that the picture becomes more clear. I've held very many leadership positions in my profession. I would say that the climax of it was when in 2000 and 2003, I served as the 13th president of the Commonwealth Association of Architects. Yes. And that's a leader of all architects in the Commonwealth. It was great privilege. It was a great challenge because you are leading not only people from your own continent, but people from several other continents and with diverse interests and different levels of development. So that for me was a very, very big challenge. And you must rise up to the challenges of leadership. Yes, even when I was the president of the Commonwealth Association of Architects, sometimes you get people throwing jabs at you because you are African and they think that you are not worthy of this sort of things. But you can only rise up by providing good leadership to people. So, and then of course I've had many other leadership positions, not just in my profession, but in other areas as well. And this has built me up as a leader. I have learned what it is that is required of a leader. I've learned about the qualities that are required of a leader. So it hasn't just been about me giving that way, but I also learning and growing in that and to be a much more effective leader. And I thank God for those opportunities because not very many people get those opportunities. Yes. Yes.
When we talk about leadership, we are talking about something that even the younger generation is aspiring to become. Yes. Now, there are things that are not, I would say, non-compromisable. If, for instance, you want to be a honest leader, it must come from you. What are some of the things that the younger generation needs to look at when it comes, especially if they want to become competent and good leaders who have impact not only on the society but the country at large?
I think the many facets of it. One, of course, has to do with your upbringing. How you are brought up at home, in school. What are the core values that are driving your family as they shape you up to be a person in life? What are the core values of your schools? These are things that are taught and inculcated into you so that you can know, for example, what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong. Yes. So those things start from a very early age. Granted, not everybody has that advantage of having that kind of background, but it is important that they start from a very early age. And as you grow up, obviously you interact with society and you get these opportunities also to provide leadership. The most important thing, I think, is that those who've come before you must be good role models so that you look up to them and say, I one day want to be like Philip Kungu. What is Philip Kungu? What does he stand for? What are his core values? What does he believe in? How does he do his things? So you need that role modeling to be done at that level so that they have good examples to borrow from. Sometimes I think the young people get into problems just because they don't know better. And it is our responsibility as senior citizens, those who've been through life a little longer, to provide the role models. But then I also, as I probably mentioned a little bit earlier in our informal discussion, I think that at the level of the young people, they must also demand these same qualities.
Yes.
even if you are a school prefect, even if you are a leader of a student organization or a youth club or whatever it is, the elements of integrity, the elements of honesty, those are still demanded from you at your own level. You cannot say, because I'm youth, I can look the other side if something is being done, that I cannot inspire people. So this is something that I think works at all levels. But I think for the young people, perhaps we've let them down by not providing good examples, and the ones that we have provided are really not useful in terms of inculcating some of these values. But strong family values, the family level, in school, in the communities which we belong to, help shape somebody to make them the leader that they are, and they can be influential in life later on.
Now, when your commitment to mentoring aspiring architects, especially at the University of Nairobi, where you taught for 10 years, it helped in shaping young and upcoming architects, some of which are practicing. In your own view, what mentorship aspects are the most crucial in fostering growth and success, especially for young architects?
First and foremost, let me say why I actually went back to the university to teach. I went back because during my time, I thought that I had a very good education in the University of Nairobi. And I felt that other people, the people who were coming behind us, needed also to get what I got, because that's how you can make society better. So for me, going to teach in the university is not because I didn't have a job. As an architect, I qualified well. I could have gotten a good job and a lot of money. But this was going to be the phase of life when I would make a contribution to society. And the calling for me was big. Now, obviously, when you have that responsibility of teaching, then you play a much bigger role. Mentorship, the student is sitting with you, they are hearing you speak, they are seeing what you do, you provide mentorship. And even when I left the university, I made a commitment that I would mentor the students because I knew the value of getting a good education and good mentorship in my professional practice. So ever since I left the university, which was way back in 1995, we have a program in my architectural office where we provide opportunities for students to come and be attached with us so that they can see the environment, how an architect's office works. And this is not just for university students, this is also for people who are in polytechnics and things like that. And I want to give a story that I think is important. Once we had a client of ours, we were doing a building for her, and she came as we were doing the building and said, Philip, I have this niece who is at the Polytechnic, she's doing building construction. Could you give her attachment because it's required for that? And we gave her an attachment, and she worked very well, and she went on and finished her diploma. And then one day I sat her down, and she's called Sylvia, and I said, Sylvia, you can work for us here in our firm, and we can pay you salaries, and it will be okay, you get a life. But have you ever thought that you could become an architect? And it took her by surprise. I said, that was the time also the university education was opening up. So you had this module 2 classes. And I encouraged her and I said, Sylvia, enroll, go and enroll. She enrolled at Jomo Kenyatta University, did her architectural degree, and graduated at the top of her class. Wow. And she's out there, she's practicing somewhere. For me, there is nothing that brings greater joy than that. That somebody who probably only saw their life as having the basic skills and working within the architectural office can now be a full-fledged architect doing her work. So mentorship helps a lot in building people for the future. And we are committed. Every single year we get students coming into our office just for us to do this. Another thing which I wanted to say, although I left the university, people within the university community know that anytime there's an issue to do with students that they require people from, I drop everything else and I go to the university. Whether it is to give talks, whether it's to be an external examiner, whatever it is, I always do that. That is my commitment to mentoring the young people, the young architects in this country.
And when you talk about mentorship, it transcends class teachings. It's not around class and teachers and what you are learning. Talk about mentorship in terms of dealing with people, especially in your profession of architecture, who are already practicing now.
I think that we can do a lot better than we are doing at the moment. It's unfortunate that because we are preoccupied with living, living means looking for livelihood so that you can do the things you want to do, that we forget the finer and the softer aspects of life. And those softer and finer aspects of life is what builds up a good society. And we have to take our time and play our part in that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that my colleagues who are in practice ought to take a lot more interest in some of these areas and provide opportunities for young people. And they can give back, because you've been in the profession for so long. Obviously, with age comes wisdom. You can use some of this and send our people the right path. Yes. We have no business complaining, for example, that the architects we get today are not of the quality that we want. But you have a moral obligation to make sure you raise their level, provide them with opportunities such as we are doing, so that they can learn from you. And quite often, the lessons we learn in life are far much deeper and much more profound than the lessons we learn in books.
Yes.
So that is our role for my colleagues who are there, and I want them to take up this challenge.
Yes.
And I know there are very many of them who are doing a good job by providing these opportunities, but it's something I wish a lot more of us who are doing. Yes.
From the way you are talking, you are very passionate about providing the right path, especially in terms of leadership. What motivates you to do that?
It is true, and it's interesting you've picked this. I am very, very passionate about leadership in its broadest sense, because in leadership you have an opportunity to influence things, you have an opportunity to influence life, you have an opportunity to influence people so that we can get a better society. And I have been blessed to have been in very many leadership positions throughout my life. And I know the value of good leadership. In fact, a lot of societies fail because of, and organizations fail because of lack of good leadership. Indeed, the late President Mandela said that the tragedy of Africa is the tragedy of poor or lack of leadership. So everything starts and falls with the leadership. And if we don't provide the good leadership in society, we can't expect to get better society than what it is now. So we have to be passionate about these things. We have to be passionate about honesty and integrity. We have to be passionate about inspiring others. We must be passionate about what we do and how we do these things, so that when people look at you, they say, I want to be like Philip. I want to do the things that Philip is doing. We have to be accountable. Leadership calls for accountability. And accountability is the most difficult thing for a lot of us in Kenyans. We want things, but we don't want to be responsible for how we handle those things, whether it's power, things like that. We need to have some element of empathy, feel for other people. Days are gone when you'd come and say, I'm the leader and this is how we are going to run this organization, this is how we're going to do. If somebody within your organization is not happy, you have to find out what it is. If they have a pain somewhere, you've got to find out so that they know that you have a duty of care for them. Yes. And in that way, we build better society. If it's businesses, we build better, more thriving, with higher productivity and this sort of thing. So everything falls and it starts and falls with the leadership. Yes.
In emphasizing on the pursuits of the greater good and spiritual grounding and fostering meaningful connections, how have these aspects shaped your perspective on leadership?
I'm glad you've asked that question, because in many ways it relates, or it has shaped to the way I look at things now. And I'll give you a little story. I'm Christian. And there was a time a friend of mine invited me to what is called Bible Study Fellowship, BSF. I've done it for the last 14 years or so. It's about studying God's Word. It's not about preaching and all that sort of things. But when I joined BSF, the book we were studying was the story of Moses. And the story of Moses is about leadership. From how Moses was born, how he was prepared in the Pharaoh's palace, and until he was given the opportunity to take the children of Israel out of Egypt. The rebellion of the children of Israel, the frustrations he had to do, the challenges he has to deal with as a leader, all these are in the story of Moses. That really inspired me, because all the issues, all the challenges of leadership that Moses underwent are things that you can experience as a leader, and I learned a lot from them. So that has really inspired me.
Yes.
Yes.
In the field of architecture, it's one of the fields that many people in yesteryears thought it's a male-only area.
Yes.
In your own assessment, have we had a change or an embrace in the female, have the women embraced this area of architecture in recent years?
Yeah. Let's start. In my class, when we graduated, we didn't have a single woman student in my class. We never had a lady student in my architectural class. But as years have gone by, we've seen at general levels higher enrollment of women in our higher institutions of learning. So you find that the university has a lot more women students than there were many years ago. Secondly, the women have also ventured into perhaps what you might call traditionally male-dominated courses, like maybe architecture and engineering. They've always been there in medicine and law and all that. And this is a very good shift in terms of how the country is moving. So we now have very many more women students who are graduating from the university in general. But the one in architecture has been really phenomenal. I've had the opportunity to serve at the University of Nairobi as an external examiner. And what I have seen is, one, a significant rise in the number of women students. And in terms of performance, the top students, and I say this without fear of contradiction, that in the top students, the ones who get first classes, say for example, if you have 10 first classes, I can tell you 5, 6, or 7 of them have been women.
Wow.
And it is by right, by merit. It's not a favor that is being done to them, because we examine them to the highest standards possible. So this is a good thing and should be encouraged. And I think if this is to be embraced at all levels, then the position of women and in leadership follows. Secondly, the Architectural Association of Kenya, in which I'm a fellow member, the last 4 or so presidents have been women presidents of the Architectural Association of Kenya. That would never have happened during my time. And it's a welcome thing. They're women, they're young, they're driving the association, and we are very proud of them. Yes.
Your parting shot. My
parting shot. What can I say? I think their leadership is a calling that requires you to go above yourself. It requires you to go into areas that probably you have not gone before. And in leadership, there are 3 components that you need. I think you need the leadership in the leader. So the personality of the leader is important. You need a team to work with you, because you can't be a leader if you don't have a team.
Yes.
And then you need to have a good plan.
Yes.
And one, you can sum it up by saying, perhaps leadership is also about looking at where you are now, where you want to go, if you're a leader, where you want to take people, how you will get the people there, and how you know that you will have arrived when you get there. So those are 3 important questions about the leader, the team, and the plan. Can I just have 2 quotes, if you don't mind, to sum it up?
Quickly.
2 important things. One is a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said that, be the change you wish to see in the world. And finally, my parting shot, this is my favorite, from the late Steve Jobs of the Apple computers fame. Stay hungry, stay foolish, then you will become.
Wow. Wow. Asante sana Bwana Philip.
Thank you very much
for gracing our show.
Thank you for this opportunity.
We have been talking to architect Philip Kungu on this segment of Transformative Leadership. I have been your host, Mike Migwe. Good Morning Kenya takes a short break, and Vivian will be right back to take you in the next segment. Good morning.
The stage is set for a showcase of young talents as Kenya hosts the Sekafa Under-18 Championship from the 25th of November to 8th of December in Kisumu and Kakamega. Kenya, Sudan, Rwanda, Somalia, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Uganda are battling for the title in the two-week tournament. The group phase matches are scheduled 25th of November to 1st of December. Then the semi-finals will be played on 5th of December and the final on 8th of December, all in Kisumu. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Itakuaje? Oya.
Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Ameke ram denel mshetan over.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiukia kitu kia Beatrix sana. Rosi Paul.
Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Mezi zote zimebaki December, September, October.
Wanaona, I know my Israel. Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Hey, European, Indian, man, we got it common, together as one. Cool runnings, and now that's all I got nice. Yes, it's a cool running.
Been a long time. We now no vibes like this. Play the music again.
Don't need another lover. I don't even have to bother. I found it in you. Kingston, yeah, won't you come take a walk with me? Nikupeleke hadi Kenya. Come back home.
Awacha kuniambia hapana, hebu kuja hapa. Utalipa ama ulipi? Mimi nakwambia utalipa ama ulipi. We Mogaka!
Nini? Hebu toa hii kitu. Nini? Nani wewe?
Nini?
Na kibeza chakwa.
Ni nini? Tunajuana?
Tunajuana nini? Zinakunjwani wewe ndio umefanya nibudwe ganzi.
Wewe kama una maneno ya kuniambia ni vizuri uende zako, sitaki hiyo kujia. Tembea.
Si unajua nikitembea vizuri utaona kama na kuona vibaya.
Hata umenikumbusha. Hii kitu hata sitaki kutembea nayo maana sitaki kuizoea sana. Rudisha uweke pale.
Sawa.
Weka tu nje ya hiyo mlango yangu nimeacha nimefunga. Mogaka.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya and my name is Vivian Degwa. Now we get into Family Check, and today on Family Check we will be looking at family planning under the DESIP program. I am joined by one Dr. Charlotte Pahe, and she is the Population Service Kenya Reproductive Health Director, and she's here to just help us understand everything concerning families planning specifically under the DESIP program. Dr. Charlotte, welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you so much, Vivian, for having me.
Are you doing all right this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you so much.
May we start by defining, before we get into the DESIP program, let's just define family planning.
Thank you. So a family planning generally would be intervention that a woman who is in a reproductive age would be utilizing to allow her space, her pregnancies, to allow her achieve her desired family size, and to allow her and her family, her partner and their children, to live within the resources that they have for the number of children that they're able to have and that they have actually planned for. Yeah.
Why is it important for families to plan?
To plan, okay. So generally, research actually in Africa shows that the women of reproductive age who are least educated, who are more poor, who are marginalized, tend to have more children. And already they're in circumstances where there's poverty, they're not able to provide for their basic needs for their families, they're not able to provide for education like they would for their families, and they're having actually more and more children. Not only that, as a country, as a nation, a country has to be able to provide for the number of people that it has in a manner that each of them is accessing the services that they should in the right way. So when there's an imbalance between the number of people that the country has and the resources that are available in that country, then we begin to see inequities. It means not everybody will benefit or enjoy the good of that particular country. So what family planning does, at the family unit, the family is allowed to plan for their children, the number of children that they have. That way, they are matching you to the resources that they have moving along. But on the national unit as well, the government is then planning for a number that it's aware of, that it's able to look at and provide for that estimate based on the resources that they have. Because then you don't have too many maybe accessing a university and the government is not able to match up that demand. You don't have too many needing food and the country is producing less than it should. So that way, it gives particularly underdeveloped countries, these countries we call them LMICs, low and middle income countries, you're now moving towards a step where you're planning for the numbers as you go. A country has visibility on the number of people that it has, and then it's investing as it should as you move along. And actually, data by the United Nations shows that for every dollar that you'll spend on family planning, you're able to save $2 to $6 that will go into something else. It'll go into education, will go into infrastructure. So in that way, development actually is available to be accessed by every individual in that country across board. Again, you're able to give a woman space between her pregnancies, because if she's delivering every year, there's going to be detrimental effects actually on her health. So she's going to be better in terms of being able to recover fully before she gets her next pregnancies. So women who tend to be pregnant frequently over and over tend to be the ones most affected by mortality, which is death. They're highly likely to end up dying from complications of birth. Not only that, their infants, their babies tend not to do very well. And if the children are very many and there are too many ill things happening in the background, a family is not able to provide for medication, for food, then you end up with a lot of children dying because everything started with a woman not being able to actually plan well for the number of children she's able to have that cope with the body that she has. How is she healing after every pregnancy? And then how is she negotiating other things, her career goals in the background? Because if a woman is able to also pursue her career goals, then she's also bringing in resources into her family. So the burden of providing for her family is not only falling on her partner, then they're actually able to do it together and they're working along together. So we're looking at better outcomes for mothers, better outcomes for infants, who we call them neonates, and then better outcomes for children on an overall scale as well.
All right. What does a DECIP program mean? What is it all about? And first of all, if you may define for us in full what DECIP stands for.
So DECIP is an acronym that stands for Delivering Equitable and Sustainable Increases in Family Planning. So hence the word DECIP. The project is actually funded by the UK Aid, commonly known as FCDO, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. And it's actually the largest family planning program in the country. So the program was actually aimed to have an overall impact of reducing maternal mortality, neonatal mortality and child mortality as well. And the program actually initially was envisioned to happen in 19 counties, but due to funding cuts that happened amid the COVID period, then at the moment the project is actually happening in 12 counties around the country. And these are particularly counties where less than 45% of women have access to modern contraceptive methods. So generally, so far we're in actually year 5 of the project. Year 5 comes to an end in March of 2024, but then we'll be rolling out to year 6 thereafter. And so far we've been able to make sure that more than 300,000 women are using FP as additional users. They are not using FP before. We've been able to give couples something that's called couple years of protection, which means methods that are able to deliver for a couple 1 year of protection from conceiving, assuming that is what they've planned for. We've been able to deliver more than 2 million of them. And in that way, by making sure a woman who's not ready physiologically, body-wise, I mean mentally, if she's not having babies before she's ready, then you've actually averted a maternal death. She won't end up dying during childbirth, and so for that we've been able to deliver more than 2,000, I've been able to avert more than 2,000 maternal deaths at the moment. So we work together with the national government and the county governments in the counties where DECIP is implemented. These are the counties where less than 45% of women actually have been on a modern contraceptive method.
So the 12 counties where DECIP is being implemented
at the moment
is simply because we have 45% of...
Yes, so actually we initially started with 19 counties. The project really, one of the unique things about the DECIP project, and I love how the project was designed, is really looking for that woman who would not been able to be seen anywhere else. You know, Kenya has this... it has this variability. Even if you're in Nairobi County, you could be in Nairobi County, but you're in the urban area, but you're very different from someone who's in the periphery. But not only that, across the counties, if you look at the semi-arid and arid lands, there's vast spaces between where a woman is and where she'll access family planning. Not only that, she's likely a woman who's making less than $1 a day. She's likely maybe a woman in a polygamous arrangement, maybe not very well educated. So DECIP actually was designed in such a way that it's focusing on the semi-arid and arid lands mostly, where women are marginalized, where nobody else is actually present. And then DECIP really wanted to understand how that particular context is like, and such that family planning is delivered in a manner that matches the context where the woman is. So the easier thing to do, because Kenya is making some strides in terms of achieving the family planning targets and reducing the unmet need for FP, but what the project did is looked at these counties where the unmet need for FP is still large and where the very few women are still accessing modern contraceptive rates. So that's why the rationale for the 19 counties, but amidst the funding cut, then that moved to 12 counties.
So those are the target beneficiaries?
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe how are you ensuring that the interventions are suitable? Yeah.
So what we do at entry into the different counties, the first thing we did is to walk through what the project deliverable is, talk to the counties, make sure that the county leadership understands what you're bringing them on the table. So having just given a highlight of what we're hoping to do this, then the counties, after the county entry meetings, allow us to go into co-creation sessions. Within the co-creation sessions, we meet particular focal leaders of the counties to whom we share the overall vision. The vision is maybe to reduce unmet need for FP for this county from this number to this number, and then together with the counties we design interventions that match people in that particular county. So you could find in particular counties, religious leaders are very focal in terms of being gatekeepers. So you cannot be able to implement FP in such a setup without talking to the religious leaders, understanding what the persuasions are, and then addressing and making sure that you're aligning to the beliefs and to the socio-cultural norms that are in that particular village. Sometimes you come across misconceptions and myths, but you also educate them so that as they ask you questions and you do that, you're able to understand from each other. So there's something we call SBCC, which is Social Behavior Change Communication Strategies. It is how do you communicate about family planning to this woman. It's very different with, I mean, if you're in Kilifi, for instance, from how you'll communicate to someone in Homa Bay, from how you'll communicate to someone in Marsabit. So through the entire process, we co-create and develop insights together such that communication is actually geared toward the context of the person, and even the methods that are available are geared towards the beliefs and what you've taught the person, such that you're basically adapting to the context of where the woman actually is and who the gatekeepers and decision makers in that particular context are for her.
What are some of the misconceptions and myths around family planning that you are working on demystifying?
I think one interesting one, that people think that family planning programs necessarily don't like people. We are against maybe people achieving their desired family size. We had a conference last week, and I like one of the plays that was done by the community team that we had from Likoni sub-county, and the issue was that how am I going to demonstrate that I'm a strong man? I don't know how to say I am, How am I going to demonstrate my masculinity if I can't have the number of children that everybody thinks I should have? Sometimes there's a bit of a middle ground between what are the potential side effects, adverse events that a woman could have on a particular FP method, and some that I believe that are actually not true. So we have some things about you'll permanently become infertile if you go on FP. These particular ones may maybe reduce your urge to be intimate intimate with your partner. So what we do to be able, we try and make sure that every woman is given the right information about each method. So that if a woman desires to use oral contraceptive pills, for instance, we prepare her. How will that look like with your cycle? What are the common adverse events that other women have experienced? What do you do? For instance, if you go on an injectable method and you start to spot, what should you do? Where should you go to? So what we do is try as much as possible to counsel women with all the information that we have. That includes what are the benefits of this FP method, but as well, what could be the potential side effect and what should you do? What can you move to? And luckily as well, the methods that are available are both across barrier methods. We have hormonal, which some women sometimes find interact with some elements of their body, but you also have non-hormonal ones as well, so that you're able to choose from a vast actually array of choices as opposed to just the one method.
Yeah. Are there methods that you are specifically pushing for?
Not really.
Yeah.
For us, generally, I find that it's easier when a woman is on a longer acting method, one that doesn't require you to do something every time you're being intimate with your partner, for instance. If you're having to, or some that are prone to forgetting. Personally, I have trouble with amoxil for 3 times a day for 5 days. In fact, when I have to take it, I'm thinking, okay, give me an antibiotic that I'll take once a day for 3 days. So I wouldn't be the kind of person that would take an oral contraceptive pill. I'd like the freedom of something that is free of me having to take an action every day. So those are the needs that we look at for different women. There are women who don't have a problem actually and would not forget to take their pill. There are women who are very well organized. So really, the modality comes down to how comfortable is the woman in terms of using which method. But for us, we don't push for a particular method. We just push for the modern contraceptive choices as a whole to allow the woman to choose. And actually, the theme for World Contraceptive Day this year was around educating women on all the choices. For some women, a choice could be abstinence, and that still remains a choice. So you're not really telling them you must go on this thing that is pharmaceutical. No, you're telling them what matches your need and context at this particular time.
And how maybe is the program increasing the utilization of family planning?
So we do that through 4 different ways. The first one is just to increase the awareness, just the awareness. Sometimes I think medical people, we can sometimes be we can assume that everybody knows what we know, and then you find that people are not coming for the intervention at the facility because, one, you didn't tell them what it was all about. And when you did, there were some norms and myths like we're talking about, and you didn't address them. So the first thing that we do is to address the awareness and the acceptance. So this, after we have met the county people in the different counties and we're working together, we train some people called demand creation agents who are trained on what the choices are, what is available. We also engage young people for particular age cohorts. Sometimes you're looking at young mothers who are 18, 19. At the World Contraceptive Day, I remember in Nakuru, we had a girl testify and say her sister, who's only 24, has had 6 children, and that's because she started having children very early. And at 24, she's potentially looking at having more in the event she doesn't plan herself. And of course, the idea is not that she doesn't have any. It is that, are you able to actually provide for them, and are you able to recover fully between pregnancies? So we engage peers that match the particular context. In some contexts, we're looking at male engagement, which is a really unique aspect of the DESI project, where we engage men as champions of FP, religious leaders as well, a unique concept of DESI project as champions for FP, youth, and we have something called the community-based distribution, where we train a particular set of community health volunteers as experts to be able to train you on the modality of FP and as well administer some of the shorter term FP methods. So that's one of the way. The other way is to improve the family planning service delivery so that when you're at a facility, you're able to get quality services. So in that particular way, we train healthcare workers on the methods of FP that are available, ensure that they're offering service in a quality manner, but we also support the counties around commodities. Everything else could be set, the awareness could be set, acceptance is ready, the health facility has the people it needs, and the woman shows up, but then you don't have commodities. So we take counties through a training to help them forecast how much FP do I think I need next year, how much do I think I need in 2 years, and then after that I quantify, and then after that we have community commodity technical working groups where different people will show up and actually track stock, because many times a woman shows up at the facility and the FP is actually not present. So we also undertake, we make sure that counties are sitting together, the different gatekeepers actually making this decision together to make sure that the FP is actually provided. So we also on the other hand support government to develop some particular key policies. Some of them is the family planning standards. These are they're sort of a quality assurance standard that tells you for a facility that is offering family planning, this is the bare minimum of that facility, how it should look like. Should be able to have equipment that prevents a healthcare worker, for instance, if they're going to insert a method, not to get infected from that exposure. How are you disposing the commodities afterwards? How are you storing them to make sure that they're not being exposed to too much sun or too much dust or something like that, and the woman is getting infected? So there are different policies, some of them around the social behavior change that I talked about, the communication strategy, some of them around commodity security. So we support the country and the national and the county governments to be able to develop, sometimes not on our own. We don't take credit for all of them. A lot of them we've actually done in support with other partners, just to make sure that the policy environment as well supports the family planning agenda. And then finally, beyond donor funding, because DECIP is donor funded. So what happens? You're looking at the largest FP project in the country coming to an end at one point in time. Who's going to take up what DECIP has done? So we begin to prepare the government to think about what is this sustainable method. How do you integrate what you're already doing in the county and bring in FP such that as a county you're doing this all of it together without actually needing funding from a donor, without needing external support for it? How are you mobilizing resources as a country to make sure that family planning services are being delivered? And how do you understand what it means to you? Because if you're looking at the game plan of, I don't want women to die prematurely or children to die prematurely, I don't want a cycle of poverty, because you find the women who are least educated, they are not having jobs, the ones who are poor tend to have more children, so that cycle of poverty ends up being propagated. So when a country and a county can understand that, then from that point they're now beginning to think through how do we mobilize resources. So that's what we support the counties and the government to do.
You mentioned that you engage men in this conversation, and we know that when we're talking about family planning, many a times it seems like it's a conversation for just women. So how are you engaging the men in this conversation?
So in the counties that DECIP works in, we've so in discussion with the county government and the leads, we identify particular men based on that context. For some context, it could be a religious leader. It could be a man who's known as a pastor in that community, who's known as a sheikh, who's known as a Muslim leader in that community. So we engage them and take them through a training session. Generally, if you can inform someone why you want to do something, if you can sell them, if you can convince them, if you can tell them the story as to why, if you can sell the purpose as to something, then you're likely to get people who believe in your vision. And that's what we do. We tell them about their community, about the women in their community. Sometimes the women in their community are not able to make decisions as they are. You could find someone who's a key focal person in a community, and maybe their family is a bit different. He treats his wife a bit differently. But that's not the experience that he finds among other women in that community. So as you're bringing him along and engaging him, then he's able to also educate. Because a lot of times people want to do well to improve the life of another, but they don't have the information. So we identify focal people. You could find a community, like for instance in the Rift Valley among the Kalenjin, you could find that a focal person in that community is a leader of a group that went through circumcision together. So you will pick your male experts and the champions based on the context of where you are. For some, it's people who went to school together. For some people, it's a boda hangout in a particular session. There are about 15 of them who hang out under a tree, and one of them is their leader. So you move along across that cascade, looking at who is the focal person, who, if I want to reach these people, who will I have to talk to? Then that's a person you engage as a male champion and train them across the cascade. And they actually train other men. They actually train other men and other focal leaders who are male in the community to be able to buy the agenda for FP.
And are there family planning methods for men?
Yes, they are. They're not very popular among men. I think sometimes you sit in a room and you say a family planning method for a man, and you just see men crossing their legs. You're like, don't go there. So
forget about it.
Forget about it. So in the same way that women can start from abstinence, depending on the man you're looking at, a man could start there. They could start at the abstinence part. But if you're moving along a condom, condoms are very common among men. And of course, there's the very popular in terms of how the reactions it tends to elicit, and that would be the vasectomy. Perhaps not popular in uptake, but it has room for it. And I see some of the conversations men who come up for vasectomy have. They're looking at men whose partners perhaps have used a particular method of FP, and it hasn't gone very well for them. They've had many children. The woman has tried this one, this one, and they're thinking, okay, so let me take up the responsibility now. So those are the men we see moving to it. But it isn't what people think. I think what people think about it and how it is very different. But I'm available, and we're available at the program to give people more information around what vasectomy looks like.
Okay.
So we don't have men crossing their legs every time they hear about vasectomy. No one is intending to make them important, actually.
All right, we take a short break right now. Don't you go too far. We'll be back with this conversation after that commercial break.
From the dawn of independence to the present day, Kenya has journeyed with strength and determination. We celebrate Kenya at 60. As we mark this incredible milestone, KBC and Jamboree present an unforgettable celebration of culture, music, and awareness. Immerse yourself in a musical journey featuring global sensations like the mighty Itolls and Everton Blender, all the way from Kingston, Jamaica, alongside our incredible homegrown artists. But it's not just about the music. Join us for a day of cancer awareness and a fun-filled family day, including horse riding, bouncing castles for the kids, and a special tree planting exercise. Save the dates as we tour a county near you. Ticket information is available on our social media handles at Jamboree Festival KE. Join the celebration, feel the rhythm, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Happy birthday, Kenya.
Wacha kuniambia hapana, hebu kuja hapa. Utalipa ama ulipi? Mimi nakwambia utalipa ama ulipi. We Mogaka!
Nini? Nini? Nani wewe?
Nini?
Na kebeza chakwa.
Ni nini? Tunajuana?
Tunajuana nini? Zinakunjwani wewe ndio umefanya nibudwe ganzi.
Wewe kama una maneno ya kuniambia ni vizuri uende zako, sitaki hiyo kujia. Tembea.
Unajua nikitembea vizuri utaona kama na kuona vibaya.
Hata umenikumbusha. Hii kitu hata sitaki kutembea nayo, maana sitaki kuizoea sana. Rudisha uweke pale.
Sawa.
Weka tu nje ya hiyo mlango yangu nimeacha nimefunga. Mogaka.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line. Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is. She smashed it.
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
welcome back. And just before we took that commercial break, we were talking about methods that men can use in family planning, and vasectomy was on the table. And we're just talking about how men don't really want to get into this conversation. But vasectomy is reversible.
Yes, it
You can
is.
get a vasectomy because you know you're not ready to have a kid right now.
Yes,
Probably you can get it reversed in the next 5 years.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe this is a conversation that we need to put more awareness out there so that it doesn't seem like, no,
I actually
don't
find
wanna
it
hear about
interesting that even as different projects and programs are doing it, and they're even offering to do it for free, there's still a feeling of, no, I don't think so. But like you're saying, yes, someone could have it and say, you know what, I'll reverse it. We see that happen a lot in the West, and not only for vasectomy, but for tubal ligation, where women would be like, let me do this, and then when I'm ready to have children, I'll go and have this reversed. I guess the fear among people is the scarring, perhaps that could happen. So generally, you'll find in a context, we would prefer, medics as medical professionals would find it better if someone went after they've actually achieved their desired family size. So that way we're not having to worry about what will happen, might there be scarring at the point of reversing. So we tend in our setup to go for this method when you feel you have actually achieved the number of children you would have loved to have had.
I understand that the main challenge that you face in this program and just family planning in general has to be the misconceptions around it, you know, the myths around it. So if you can just take me through maybe other challenges that you're facing in this particular program.
So on the, let me call it the demand side around the community, so there's the myths and the misconceptions on that side. And sometimes even if you've lifted the issues around the information and you've given the information, there's still the woman who might not be able to access the facility. So access can be an issue. How do you have a woman in a pastoralist setup, for instance, who's a bit migratory with her family, or where the sheer distance from just her home to the facility is really, really, really far? So then she has gotten the information that she needs, but she's not able to access the facility. So that can be issues on the demand side. In terms of supply side, we find that even as we train healthcare providers, there's such movement. You train someone when they're up to good capacity, they've moved to something else. So you're always finding capacity gaps. You're always having to train again. We found some of the experiences that the county hospitals have told us is that students, nursing students, clinical officers, medical students, during their training are not having quite enough time. A student maybe is exposed to the maternal and child health clinic for 2 weeks, but even in that 2 weeks, they're doing everything in there. So at most, they'll spend an afternoon or maybe a day or two at the FP clinic. That's not enough time for someone to have gained the hand-on skills that you need. So that way, capacity still remains an issue. On the other side, even when the woman has arrived at the facility and should be getting the commodities, they get there and they find, no, the facility has been stocked out. This facility does not have FP commodities at all. So those continue to be some of the challenges. Data around FP commodities, because you want, as a healthcare provider is offering the service, you want them to be able to document. If they can give you an accurate documentation of the data, this is the number of women I saw, this is the methods I gave. If you're looking at replacing this, refilling, as it were, the commodities, if you have the right information, then you'll do that very well. But imagine if that is not documented well. At the county level, you're asking the national system to give you commodities for maybe 100 women, but apparently your facility offered services to 300 women, but that was not documented very well. So data gaps continue to actually be an issue. And then finally, the resources. I mean, this is donor funded. At one point, it's going to come to an end. Somebody has to take up the responsibility. And again, we're looking at, you don't want women to die too soon or children to die too soon. So really, it should be a government priority and a government investment into FP. But financing for FP continues actually to be a challenge for the project.
When exactly should the conversation on family planning be introduced? You know, there was a time, there was a conversation on school children, high school goers, like they should be introduced and be spoken about, methods of family planning and so on. And this was met with so much resistance, you know, not just from every institution, I guess, you know, beginning with our religious leaders and all. So when exactly should this conversation be introduced? And is it okay to introduce it to high school goers?
So the thing about Kenya, and I like to say this, is that we have these two sides. We are a country that has such high teenage pregnancy rates.
Yes.
Really, really high on one side. But on the other side, we are looking at what we believe to be our cultural norms. We don't really want children exposed too early to particular kind of material. And that tends to be the tension between the two. But something that I found the government to be doing, and I tend to agree with, is the comprehensive sexuality education. In this way, you're looking at age-appropriate counseling, so that at the right age, you're saying the right thing. Because we tend to believe, we believing one thing, and we are saying one thing around our norms, but practicing another. And another thing about adolescents, they're not the most empowered in terms of information. And the information that can go among high school girls from one to another is information that they probably rumored about. It's not accurate. So I think the comprehensive sexuality education for me then becomes a forum where you're giving the right information to the right person. I think from what I remember, I should be starting at around, I think between 10 and 12, but that context is broken down into something that child can understand. Yeah, because the problem is sometimes girls are getting into sex very early, but they don't even understand what it means. This girl, I remember at the World Contraceptive Day, said she didn't even know what being pregnant meant, and she was pregnant at 16. She didn't know that she was supposed to go to a facility, because now you no longer are a 16-year-old, you're now a mother. Your title completely changes. Even when she went there, she didn't know where to go. What do I do? There's something growing in my belly. So remember, the biggest thing that you're looking at for young girls is information. You want to give them the right information that matches their maturity, because if you don't give them the right information, then they're going to get it from someone. And does the person giving them information, do they have the right information? That becomes the issue again. There are other counterfeit sort of FP methods that are in the pipeline. You'd find some, I hear them being called Chinese herbs, and you're looking at one pill that is loaded with enough estrogen maybe for a month or two, and a girl is thinking, if I take that, I'm sorted. But that's not the kind of thing even the Pharmacy and Poisons Board in the country has regularized. But you see, she's looking for information behind the scenes. So I think if we can begin the conversation by bringing out the information and putting it on the table, we have to accept that as a country, we're looking at girls who are a lot more exposed to sexual content a lot sooner.
I mean,
perhaps than I was. In this era of social media, you give a child this kind of thing. I sometimes, in fact, the other day I had my children singing a song, and for the life of me, I couldn't tell where they had it from, because I know they didn't hear it from my house. But they sang it from top to bottom. So there's somewhere they're getting information, and I'm not there. So then, would I want to hide the information, or do I want to talk to them in a manner that matches their understanding and their age, so that as we move along, then we are sorting it out? But the other thing you're also looking at, you could be looking at a girl who's 16 and has already had 4 pregnancies. She's out of school. Who is her partner? Sometimes her husband is another 17-year-old who's also in school. So what happens? So you're looking at a particular age, depending on the circumstances again, where you could find yourself for the really young ones, the teenage, as it were, where you're having to start a conversation of, okay, maybe you could move to an FP method because of the circumstances and the context that you're actually in, so that we don't end up being controversial. I think for me, I would really like the conversation to actually start at, let's first give the information that is age appropriate.
I agree with you on that. And as we wind up, maybe what are some of the achievements of the program so far?
I think for me, I'm really lauding, just looking at the 4 outputs that we have, the different social behavior change policies that we've done for the 19 counties across board, the kind of capacity that we've been able to build for different demand creation agents, the different community focal people in terms of them being able to talk about FP and disseminate the FP. That would be one for me. Around output 2 is the capacity for the county, the trainings we've done. Some of the trainings have been online, some of them have been what we call structured mentorship, where you're showing someone this is what you do. You're moving away from a hotel as it were, and you're sort of building skills as a mentorship program on site. And then finally, we've had different classroom-based trainings for different things, the forecasting and quantification being one of them. So the capacity that the project has actually been able to do, to be able to build capacity, that is capacity that even if a healthcare worker moves from a county where there's DESIP and moves to another where there's none, you're not losing capacity. When they move there, they'll still be there. The different policies that we've been able to support remain a testament to what the project has done, and of course just spearheading and catalyzing the conversation around total market approach. But generally, when I look at the more than 300,000 additional users of FP for me, and the maternal deaths, I look at that number, more than 2,000 maternal deaths being averted. That is significant for me. And of course, the couple layers of protection that the FP methods have been able to offer.
All right, I'll allow you to give us your parting shots.
Thank you very much. I think for me, I just want to remind the population that family planning really is about a couple being able to achieve their desired family size. More than anything else, having a conversation around, do we have the resources that we require to raise this number of children that we have? So that could look very different for different people. So it's not so much that it is being coerced, but rather we intend that family planning is very voluntary. It is a discussion at a couple level, and they're looking at the resources that they have and then having the family size that they desire to actually have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and time. That was Dr. Charlotte Pahe, and we were talking about family planning under the DESIP program. I believe that now you have gotten to understand what the program is all about. Now, we want to thank you for tuning in to Good Morning Kenya. This is where we call it a wrap right here. And on behalf of the entire team, I want to wish you a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, and please, God willing. Goodbye.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m. Music can be magical. It's the soul for life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human psyche. Whether secular or gospel, there's a song for everyone, every occasion, and every emotion.
God bless you.